They like the chaos.
They like the chaos. So when you're able to
The chaos.
let that chaos reign with
The chaos.
let that chaos reign with
The chaos.
let that chaos reign with
Must reign.
And it's in a woman's nature to look for these things in men for partnership, which means men cutting vices that keep you weak, addicted, and with a warped sense of reality when it comes to women, like pornography, which a majority of men consume, and I argue is the single largest contributor to the decay in relationships between the sexes. And I think afterwards, women will naturally want to look forward to relationships with men more. Because why would a woman marry a man that watches porn and thinks it's okay to do that while in a relationship, which in my book is emotional cheating? Or why would she marry a man that wants her to work and split bills, which I understand is the reality of most Americans, but then isn't equally competent or responsible partner when it comes to household duties or raising children? It just sounds like an irrational deal. Or worse, why would a woman want to give children to men who think being a stay-at-home mom has no inherent value? It's just what women are supposed to do, when raising kids right is the pillar of a strong society, and the market value of what a stay-at-home mom does is extremely high. Or worse, nowadays there's men that say women that do want to be stay-at-home wives means that they're gold diggers, when nobody ever called grandma or great-grandma a gold digger for being a homemaker her entire life, right? So the solution to our modern problems is in telling women that they shouldn't be allowed to vote or have financial independence, which is just a stupid, sexist, losing message for the right. But to make sure that men and women value the opposite sex and what they contribute to society. And the onus is on men to hold themselves accountable and become men worthy of leading a family. Because women can't and shouldn't trust men or follow men that let vices or urges control them. And without strong men, women have had to step into their masculine energy and fill that void. And that's the problem we face, not that women have rights, right? And if you disagree with basic human rights for women, then I suggest never to be a hypocrite and take a one-way trip to Iran where women don't have rights and can't vote, right? Just like I'd recommend communists here in the US to take a one-way flight to Cuba if they don't like it here so much. That's my closing statement.
Welcome to the Chaos Run Show. How you doing? We're going to look at this, break this down. If you're new to the channel, make sure you like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Rachel Watson, has she destroyed this so-called conservative feminist, Driena Sixto? And a side note, before we let this continue playing on, she said something that men consume more what they call adult content on a normal everyday basis, if you know what I mean. Videos of women playing with themselves, women and men engaged in intercourse. I would agree on her on that notion, but this stupid chick or this bitch does not read a book called A Billion Wicked Thoughts. So to Miss Driena Sixto, I'll have to tell you, sweetie, that is a lie. It has been proven by other intellects, psychologists, computer techs. They've been doing studies on you ladies in regards what you like to watch and what you like to consume and also want sexually fantasize. And what has been revealed in this book that I got now has been saying otherwise about female nature and female sexuality. So there's notion that men are consuming more adult films or what they like to call porn. And that's the problem. I will have to solidly disagree with you, sweetie. You are actually wrong. And the reason why you're wrong, because you don't do actual reading of these books. I'm not sure if these women nowadays are just Googling anything now and is trying to find something that is more focused on men and less on them. No, men today are wise up. They're doing now, look into this information that y'all dumb chicks be putting out here, and they have concluded that y'all ladies are lying. Oh, you're lying. You're lying. But we're going to let their conversation begin. Like, comment, and subscribe channel. If you have any agreements, disagreements, let me know in the chat room. And if you want to respond to the chat room, you're going to have to subscribe. Let's go. Let the battles begin. Round one, fight.
Well, opening statement.
Okay. Would either of you like to respond to anything you've heard there? Or?
Well, I think let's start with what do you think feminism is? And then I'll tell you what I think feminism is.
So I don't really care because so many people have different definitions. I only care about two things, which is women voting and women having financial independence. That's it. I'm not here to argue for feminism in any other way. Just a woman's right to vote and a woman's equal financial rights and opportunities as men. So egalitarian rights.
Okay.
That's it.
So almost everything that you stated as your values and the things you care about here and in your opening are actually classical liberal positions. They are not conservative positions. Are you aware of that?
Explain. Which ones?
So saying egalitarianism, that was part of the French Revolution, the ethos, liberty, equality, fraternity. That's a revolutionary classical liberal idea. It's not a right-wing conservative idea.
I don't care about, so this might be a short, debate. Who
Well,
knows?
you said you were a conservative,
yes.
so.
Again, the only argument I'm making is that all citizens have inherent values. Doesn't matter the sex, doesn't matter the gender, doesn't matter the nationality, ethnicity, or anything. I want you to make me an argument why you think that that shouldn't be the case, why women should be held
So you said
not have the same
if
rights.
you don't like America, you can leave, right?
Yeah.
If you don't think America's the best, you can leave. We care about American foundational values, right?
Western values.
Okay, well, you said America, but let's just
Mm-hmm.
say Western. Okay, are you aware that this country was not founded on the idea of universal suffrage? That's a new progressive idea.
I know that it was not originally working that way, but the U.S. Constitution and the idea of the United States absolutely saw us all as equals. And then throughout the years, we had to super specifically define it because, it wasn't put that blatant from the beginning of time. But it's there in the Constitution that we all have inherent rights from God as equal human beings.
That's funny because it took until the progressive era to pass the 19th Amendment, which was a progressive piece of legislation. It was not conservative. So all I'm trying to do is say, please don't use the label conservative if you're actually a classical liberal. So let's just get that straight. All of your positions are classical liberal positions. And you're doing what a lot of MAGA babes do. They're like, I like Trump and I want to deport illegals and I'm not super woke, therefore I'm conservative. That's why I don't use the label conservative because it means nothing anymore because people like you are actually libertarians. You're classical liberals. You lean more progressive than not. And you call yourself conservative and then say, I'm the radical weirdo who's like this crazy person.
Yeah, well, there's limited amounts of titles on what to call people's individual political beliefs. There's usually just conservative, libertarian, Republican,
Right.
Democrat.
Don't you have a
and
degree
everybody
though,
has
in political science?
And yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna address the chat room. Give me 1 second. I see people in the chat room. Hello, how you doing? Oh, you're from Netherlands? Welcome to the Chaos Rain Show. How is the Netherlands, Mr. or Mrs. Slim Doggy? I'm curious. Let's go.
And
Yeah, so why
everybody-
are you not aware that you're a classical liberal?
No, because that wouldn't specifically define my ideas. My personal ideas are way too broad. You can't just
Okay.
put
What are
too
some
much of a
conservative positions that you have?
conservative positions. I believe taxation is theft. We should
That's
have
a libertarian idea.
which our founding fathers were very much for.
The
right?
first thing George Washington did was institute the tax, and we fought a whiskey rebellion over it. So no, the founders were not against taxation. Maybe the
against
income
taxation
tax,
without representation.
but we had
Absolutely.
representation, and they said, now that we have representation, we're going to tax you. So it is
Yes.
not a conservative idea to be completely against taxation. That is a libertarian idea.
And I still believe it's true that it is still theft.
So let's
because
find the
anything-
conservative positions.
Because anything that is done through coercion, right, is theft. You don't pay taxes
That's a
because you want
libertarian.
to.
That's a dyed-in-the-wool libertarian position, which is cool.
Fantastic.
I'm not even saying there's anything wrong
Fantastic.
with
I'm a
that. But then
little
you're a
bit-
libertarian.
You
So-
can't put that title on me because it doesn't also
Then
qualify
tell me
everything
any
that
position
I
you
believe
have,
in.
any position you have
Sure.
that's conservative.
So So I believe in our Second Amendment rights, right?
That's also a classical liberal value.
Okay, so I'm a little bit of this and that, right?
No,
What-
you're just a classical liberal. I'm looking for one conservative.
But you just called me a libertarian just
That's
2
classical
seconds ago.
liberal is libertarian. They're the same thing.
So I'm a mix of both.
Political science major, by the way. Don't
Yeah.
go to college. It's a giant waste of money.
I
Just
actually agree with that.
awesome.
I actually agree with that. You know, I went to school and I got my degrees, and thankfully I'm working in the field that I went to school for. But you can learn most everything about politics and international relations.
Well, I'm
by
still
staying in
waiting
the
to
loop
hear-
of
Let
things.
each other finish, please. Let
By
each other
staying in the
finish.
loop of things. I actually do tell people don't go to college unless you're going to go get a STEM degree. In fact, I think I got myself most of my positions by skipping classes and actually being active in the community and experiencing reality rather than just reading political theories and books, which I
Okay.
had to do as well.
Still
you
just
still
want
can't-
one
you
conservative.
still
Just
can't-
one, and then I'll move on from this point. Just one actually conservative position.
Conservative position.
Yes.
I'm very pro-family. I'm very pro-life. That is,
So you're against abortion.
yes, I'm against abortion.
And if you're pro-family, how do you feel about gay marriage?
I think that basically the government should have never gotten involved in marriage in the first place.
But you said you live in reality,
Mm-hmm.
and that right now the government's involved, and it's a government contract, which is why women need prenups and all this stuff. You said we live in reality. So
Yep.
we live in reality right now
Yep.
where gay marriage is legal. Are you
Yeah.
for that or against that?
If the gays want to come into a partnership together, then they should have legal protections.
so gay marriage, you're pro-gay marriage.
I'm not pro-gay marriage. I'm saying if two people
So answer the goddamn question. Do you want these homosexuals to be in a place of a church with in their hand, holding hands, men or women of any of same-sex relationships, to go down the aisle and tell their pastor, say, you must marry me with my same-sex partner? Are you for or are you not against? It's a simple question, yes or no. Have y'all noticed when it comes to people that are homosexual in nature, a lot of people buckle? Y'all notice that? And these are women that they call themselves liberals or conservatives. And you conservatives really tippy toe when it comes to that question. I question y'all morality. Anyhow, let's listen more. And I'm gonna check the chat room and look periodically. So if you say something, I'll look at it from time to time. I see one person say MAGA is now mega. Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. All right, let's go.
people want to live together and have to legally sign that they are in a civil union so that one can go to the hospital for the other and be admitted the same rights that married couples do, then they need to go do that. I'm in favor of that. But I don't think that the government should have gotten into marriage in the first place. The reality is, however, that marriage does afford certain privileges that unmarried couples do have.
Right.
So that's why it's a legal advantage.
Are you in favor then of gay marriage? Because it kind of dodged around. Do you just want civil unions that are different from then how I'm married or how you would get married?
I mean, most, I guess, gay couples, I think, just wanted the same legal rights and tax benefits of married couples, not the fact that they could get an address and a tuxedo and go in a church and get married, because then they would have to take it up with the church itself.
Right. See, and this is the problem with your libertarian position of turning marriage into a contract with the state, is that you have no grounds on which to say the gays can't get married.
It has
Because your
always
reasons,
been. It
your
has-
reasons for men and women getting married are going to be the exact same reasons that you're going to say gay couples should get
It
married.
has always been, even before, churches existed and Christianity and all that. Marriages, civil unions have always had some kind of legal contract and observed within the communities that, like in Rome, for example, right? There were certain privileges and certain responsibilities that were given to civilly married unions
So you're talking about pagan Rome or Christian Rome?
before. Yeah.
Pagan Rome?
Yep.
Okay.
And there's been, again, the union of man and woman since the beginning of time, right?
Yes.
Even in the Bible.
But
man
it
and,
was
man
not-
and woman became
Wait, hold
one.
on. Let her finish.
Yeah,
Let her finish.
man and woman became one before God, not before the church, right? I think that's how I personally see marriage myself. I think that if two people want to come together and call themselves, a couple officially before God, that's it. And then obviously you're going to want to get legally married because of the benefits that exist. But that's what I care about. And again, that's just my personal opinion. I still want to, again, get an argument from you as to why women should not be able to vote. Why, Rachel?
Well, first,
Or why don't-
I
why
just
don't
let
you
you
just-
talk, so
Yeah.
now I'm going to talk. So
Go
I'm going to
for it.
respond to everything you just said. First of all, you didn't give me a straight answer. You gave me a whole bunch of gobbledygook and wandering, meandering nonsense to say that basically, at the beginning of this and in your last appearance, you were like, oh, I live in reality where the government is a part of the contract. That's actually not true. So the first people to make marriage not a sacrament of the church, governed by the ecclesiastical authority of the church, was Alexander Kollontai under Vladimir Lenin during the Bolshevik Revolution. In 1917, Russia was the first place in the world that we had a state contract governed by the state with no-fault divorce. That is not a Christian institution. It's not even an ancient pagan institution, as you noted, but back in those days, even under pagans, it was more of a family contractual agreement where you're marrying for the purpose of two families kind of uniting, and a lot of things went into that. But no, this is brand new. This idea of marriage as just this personal contract you have with somebody that's governed by the state is only about 100 years old. And you basically just told me that you're pro-gay marriage. So I'll answer.
Don't put words in my mouth.
Then you have to answer either yes or no. Are you for gay marriage rights or not? You are for human rights. You're for rights. Are you for
Under the law, yes.
Right.
See, and it goes to show you that they cannot answer this straight question, because most women and men today are afraid of the so-called LGBTQ. And for those that's part of that group, listen to me and hear me well. And I'm going to be honest with y'all. Let me mute it. Let me just do this. Because I think people don't understand how this world really goddamn works. You rather be around people that's being upfront and honest, saying, I am not, or I don't like what you do. Now, it'd be respectful to tell you in your goddamn face, but they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. They want to tiptoe with you so that way you could still rock with them or what they're trying to do, or stay in circles around people like you. But let's keep real honest. For those that is part of the, LGBT community and stuff, right? You're around a lot of comedians and liars. Why I say this? Because most people, and we're talking about America especially, they rock with you, but they don't really rock with you, like, unless they are actually gay themselves. And that's the honest truth. And they can't really hide that. Now, I'm not saying Miss Sexton is gay. I don't know about that. I really don't. She doesn't give those type of vibes personally. I don't think so. But let's say she was. She's going to still tittle in the fence between that question. Because in good faith, if she really gave you a straight answer, no, I don't think you should be marrying if you're the same sex, she's going to get everybody in the other community not only not liking, but they're going to probably turn on her. And I think that's a lot of great fear, a lot of people that plays this conservative or liberal type mindset. And I don't like using these terms, but let's go there. They like to stay in the middle set where you still rock with them. Get that? All right. But I don't think she's going to answer that question. Nor Rachel told us that Rachel keep asking the question and she still dodged the question. Pay attention to that. All right. Timmy Travis, welcome to chat room. You write something about anybody has time for dating. Trump shows love towards. That's a good question. I don't know. Let's continue.
for gay marriage rights? Should gays be able to have the same legal marriage that men and women have?
Yes.
Okay.
There you go. You see how much just to get a straight answer? You say yes. I guarantee Rachel says no. I would agree with Rachel if that question asked, and she'll keep real with you. Just she would say no. It's that simple. Let's continue.
That's not a conservative position. So
In your opinion.
I'll answer your why should women not vote question as soon as you give me one position, just one on anything where you're actually conservative at all.
I've just mentioned a few. I am, again, pro-life. I am pro-marriage. I am pro-small government.
So you would,
So
well,
I'm
small
pro
government is like a
US
fiscal.
yes, fiscal conservative. I'm a constitutionalist, right? So yeah, all of those things constitute a lot of conservative values.
So you're,
but it's very,
you're pro-life.
yes,
So you would be against abortion in pretty much all circumstances.
yeah.
Okay, then I'll give you that one. That's the only one that I can come up with that makes you anything remotely conservative. So good job on that. But why do I think women shouldn't vote? Well,
Yeah.
I'll tell you why I think women shouldn't vote. So you did a lot of hard work trying to get Trump reelected. You're very pro-Trump, and you want to help Republicans, right? And part of the reason you don't like this gender war is because you're like, look, this is a terrible position for the right. You're alienating all the female voters, right?
Yes, that's partially correct, yeah.
If women didn't vote anymore, we would never have another Democrat president. We would never have another Democrat Senate, and we would never have another Democrat Congress.
You're right. You're right, Rachel. You're
So that's
absolutely
one
right.
of the reasons that because of the values I hold, which are actually a lot more conservative, even though I don't like the term, I don't really care about Republicans versus Democrats. I think that the big tent Republicanism is just liberalism at a slower speed, like what you believe in. I don't believe in that. I'm a patriarchist. I'm an Orthodox Christian. I would be a monarchist if I could. But if we care about the things we say we care about, like small government, letting women vote ensures you will never have that again. The reason the 19th Amendment was passed was because the progressive era liberals wanted to pass the income tax. They wanted to pass the Federal Reserve Act. They wanted a nanny state with welfare, and they wanted pro-immigration open borders. And they knew that if you only let men vote, you're never going to get that agenda passed. The whole progressive agenda would have never been passed without women voting.
Okay.
And that's why I think that we should have some kind of restriction, as we had at the founding, where it's not just one person, one vote. There's a lot of ways you could do that. I'm not saying you have to just say no females voting, although I think that's a great idea, for a lot of reasons that we can get into. But you could do things like net positive taxpayers. You could do anything
agree
where
with
you
that.
have to have skin in the game. But
agree with the net.
if what you care about is keeping this conservative agenda that you say you want for us and the social and fiscal conservatism, the fastest way to ensure that you never get that passed is letting women vote.
Yes, Rachel, that is factually correct because most women vote left wing, right? Even though most white women do vote Republican after the 1980s for president. But you're making the argument that because people disagree with my personal political beliefs, that I should take away their right to vote. I'd like to, and I disagree with that. I think that the way to get people to vote how I want them to is by arguing that my ideas are better than somebody else's, not taking away somebody else's right to vote. Because then you'd have to make the argument, Rachel, that we should take away black people's rights to vote, or that would be a good thing.
Why?
Because
Why would we have
let
to
me
say that?
finish. Because black people vote 80 to 90% Democrat in every presidential election, which is a racist, obviously, position to have. You don't tell people, and your ultimate solution isn't to stop people from voting because you don't get what you want. It's making arguments to convince said people that your ideas are better.
Well, I don't give a crap about democracy. I don't like the.
I'm glad we clarified
Yeah,
that.
I don't. I'm not a democracy enjoyer.
Okay.
I know that
Go
you.
to Iran?
I know you
don't
think
know.
that's
Cuba.
no Americanism, like the American ethos.
So many places.
America was not founded as a democracy, and if
Oh, one other thing I did want to say, to one of those that didn't know, Russia's, from what she said, was one of the countries that state was able to put an actual contract in marriage in 1917, roughly. And I think other countries start to follow suit. Where we talk about Western countries, that is a state of 109 years now. Yeah, that's some food for thought. Just think of. All right, let's go.
you went to school for this, I would expect that you would know more about this. It was not a universal suffrage democracy. It was a very extremely limited suffrage representative republic. That's not what we have now. So I am, if you want to call me the
Constitutional
traditionalist,
Constitutional
it's a
republic.
representative republic.
It's a constitutional republic because the Constitution guarantees that individual rights aren't trampled upon, right? And that we still have certain things that we do vote on, policy differences, but the Constitution gives everybody certain inalienable rights.
Yes,
and so that is what the country was founded upon.
This is what I have a problem with, though.
You have a problem with the
Yes,
Constitution?
I do have a problem with it. This is why, and I know you think that's some big dunk, like, oh, she's. I can't believe she said that out loud, but I'm going to explain why, and everyone's going to agree with me. The fundamental flaw in our government is this idea that, oh, we can just keep changing it. So what it was founded as is not what it has become. We have become this ultra progressive society, and that was built in. It's a fatal flaw. I'm not a constitutionalist. I don't believe in democracy because democracy means everybody gets a say. I don't want everybody to have a say. I don't want people who have more to gain from voting to take money out of my pocket to have the same say as people who are net positive taxpayers.
I agree with you
I don't
on that.
want people who are contributing to the system. This is what it is, though. You have Somalian daycare scammers who are getting millions of dollars for free because of scams, but the rest of us have to go to work, and if we don't pay our taxes, the IRS is down our throats. They're about to put us in jail.
I agree.
Oh, wow. She did some shots fired. Somalian scammers. I remember that went on in Minnesota, and they put a kibosh that quick. So the question we ask, should we still operate in that democracy type of stuff? I mean, it depends. But let's be honest. We have 300 something, almost 340 million people in America now. 333, 335 million. Last time I checked. I got to check the actual numbers. And this country was really funded and founded by a republic. So I'm not sure where democracy is going to really stand in the republic. All right, let's keep going. Hey guys, hit the like button, share the stream. And one guy writes, Huggy Homestead said 25th. Interesting. All right, let's go.
You have welfare queens. You have people taking more from the system than they're getting. This is a terrible idea. And the inherent flaw is this idea that just because you live here, you should have a say in how the government is run.
Flaws, right? Let's work on those flaws instead of the blanket statement.
It's a fatal flaw. It's built in. It's
keep everybody that I don't like from voting.
Okay, but you didn't let me finish. It's not a bug. It's a feature. You can't take it out. Your classical liberal foundation of everybody has rights. You don't care about duties. You care about rights. You're going to say everyone should have rights. Okay, let's get into that then. Well, first of all, I want to go back to your assertion that we'd have to say black people can't vote. That's atrocious and ridiculous, and I didn't say that, and I wouldn't say that. However, if black women didn't vote, that would help. If all women didn't vote, we would not be battling trans kids.
It's going to be quite the clip.
We wouldn't be battling, it's going to be quite the clip. Women voting is the larger issue because this is why they wanted to give women the vote, because women are easily swayed, they're easily propagandized, they tend to vote on emotion. Don't interrupt me, I'm not quite done.
Let her finish. Hold on, let her finish.
It's not done. I'm not done.
Go ahead. We should do timing.
Women vote. They've done a lot of, I have a whole book on this at home that I'm reading, where they've done all this research on women and how and why they vote. And they will vote things like the Nixon-Kennedy election. Women voted for Kennedy not because they knew anything about policy or because he had better ideas. You're still stuck in this paradigm that we're in a war of ideas. Most women don't think that way. They're not going and researching the issues. They go, he's tan and handsome, I like him. He's bald and he's shiny on TV and I don't like him. I don't like his tone. And so they don't vote for him.
I think let me know when we're
this
done
is
if we're
like
going to back and
not
forth.
my opinion. This is what they say in exit polling. This is what all of these political PACs who are desperately trying to get women's votes find when they do the research. Women vote for security. They vote for a nanny state. And they vote for progressive policies because those sound nicer. That's why in every political
I gotta do a pause and make sure you guys hit the like button, share the stream. I see a comment in the chat room. I cannot read that comment. Google does not allow what you just wrote in that comment. So you're going to have to rewrite that comment for me to even entertain what you just wrote. Or if you want that comment be seen, if you think it's really important, put in a super chat. Let's go.
Political cycle, you see all these commercials coming from the Democrats going, Republicans want to take away school lunch and they want to kill your grandma and they don't want her to have her Medicare anymore, because women see that and they're like, I have to protect the innocent babies. They're so helpless. Women shouldn't be in politics because it weaponizes our maternal instinct against our own interests. So that's why you see women. You see women trying to fight ICE agents in the streets, even if the illegal guy has, CP and,
Liberal women
great,
are doing that.
Yeah. Well, I've argued with conservative women
that
about this as well.
ICE
Yes, they
Sure.
see ICE dragging people out. They see families getting separated, or they see kids behind a fence or whatever, and they're like, "We can't do it this way, guys. We can't." So even people like Trump will back off on what they want to do because the women freak out and they're like, "We can't do this. It's too mean."
Okay, are we done here?
Yeah.
On your rant
Like
against
you
women?
rant and prattle and meander with your stuff.
It
too.
sounds like you have a lot of disdain for women in general.
Absolutely not. I think women are
let me
wonderful
finish.
in their
Let me
maternal
finish.
role. They shouldn't be in politics.
I'm sure that you would love to have kind of a say on what women can and can't do and what their roles in society should be. I disagree with that. I do think women should be encouraged to become mothers, and we need strong women to lead families and have and raise great kids. However, I am not using a woman's natural biological differences as basically fodder against their right to vote, basically.
Even if it costs you your liberty and it costs you all of your things that you value?
They voted for a majority of them for a Republican in the last election. So it does show that with the right arguments, you can convince people to vote Republican. That is a factual statement of recent elections that happened. So Rachel, if you are just bad at showing people why it's better to not vote and for women to live under the rule of men and only have them make political and financial decisions for them, then just say that, right? In my opinion, I have spent I've spent over the last decade on college campuses talking to students from the left, to men and women, basically on why conservative values are better, to sway them to my side. I don't
You
show
don't
up.
have
I don't
conservative
let me
values.
finish. I don't show up on a campus and tell 18-year-old girls, hey, you're just too dumb and your hormones fluctuate and you totally should leave all political decisions to men. I think you can't handle yourself and that's why you should totally believe what I say and, stop voting in the future. Let's talk about
I get to reply to that.
Facts.
I get to reply to that first.
No, you went on for quite some time,
Brian.
so let me finish.
I'm going to reply to what you just said, because you just said you must really hate women. You must have all this disdain.
I think anybody watching will say that you don't like women or you hold women of lesser value than men, and I disagree with that.
Okay, well, I'll prove to you that that's not true.
Okay.
Before the passage of the 19th Amendment, the groups, we had two groups. We had the pro-suffrage side and
Why do you?
Hold on, wait, let her finish.
we had two different groups, pro-suffrage and anti-suffrage. The vast majority of women were absolutely against the 19th Amendment and women's voting rights. Did all of those women also hate other women? Susan B. Anthony herself said if we'd left it up to women to pass women's voting rights, it never would have happened, that all their support came from progressive socialist men. So I'm asking you, my great-grandmother who did not think politics was the role of women, was she hateful toward women, or did she instinctively know that this was going to create the gender divide that you don't like? The gender divide you're trying to fight was caused by trying to politicize women and put them in men's roles and have them be involved in politics and government. Did those women hate women?
I don't care care if a majority of women were against women's rights.
Well, you're
It doesn't-
accusing
Let me
me.
finish.
Hold
Let me
on.
finish
Let her
because
finish.
yeah.
Let her finish.
I don't care if 99.9% of women were against women having equal values to men. It still doesn't take away from the fact that it is correct that women have equal values
Why?
to men. Because
You prefer it.
no, because this country was founded on protecting the minority, right?
No, it wasn't.
Let me finish. Let me finish, Rachel. This country was founded to protect the individual, right? We're not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic because we all have inherent values. So it does not matter that 99.9% of the population wants something if it tramples on the individual's rights, Rachel. This is
Okay.
basic stuff.
Okay, now
from
we're getting
school.
somewhere. Now we're getting somewhere.
And so, again, it doesn't matter if somebody that supported women's suffrage, so women voting, was a literal witch, a Satanist, a Marxist, or whatever. I don't care. It doesn't take anything away from the fact that it is still right that men and women have equal value when it comes to representation, right? It does not matter that men are physically stronger than women, and that's why, they should then be the ones to vote, because ballots are not the same thing as barbells, Rachel. And again, this is why I am glad to be here.
Sorry, keep going.
I'm glad.
Tiffany, what are you doing?
I'm glad.
Sorry, keep going.
I'm glad to be here because I equally think that there's really toxic voices in the conservative red pill movement that are putting so many people off from what our side really is about. And some people think that in the red pill movement, all these women just want to take away women's rights. And
Nah. Red pillars, black pills, or whatever color pills you want to call it, stupid, is not want to take women's rights. I think it's reverse. Most men that subjugate themselves to the pills want an even playing field amongst men and women in regards to the court system, child support, and other system that affects men moving and progressing in this Western world. They're not really too concerned about restricting what you do, ladies. They just want everything even if we talk about all even playing field around this country. I see some comments. Let me double check here, see if your comments gone through Google. Let me look now. If I read it, let's look. 1, 2, 3. It looks like some have made it through Google. Google, they accept it. So I'm gonna read it now. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And one person writes, Jimmy Boland writes, Rachel Wilson is marginally better debater than her husband. Oh, really? I think she holds her own. I'm not sure if she really is really better than Andrew Wilson. I just don't know. But she is getting there, in my opinion. She's getting there. So I don't want to let Andrew cut him slack or make him seem like his wife is better in this debate thing. I don't know if I can give her that much credit. But that's just me. Jimmy Boland writes again, considering Andrew is a dribbling, not saying like, I guess we have an Andrew hater. Okay, that's cool. And who else writes? Let me check. One guy, I'm trying to look what you wrote. Okay, all right. One guy wrote a face emoji. Drunkston 76 writes that D got gender divide. Okay. Then let me see what else. Looking. Matter of fact, this would be more easier if I look at my other screen. Make sure everyone. Okay, so all these went for. All right, so I can read them. I can read them out. Next writes by Jimmy. Rachel looks like an Andrew and goddamn. Yikes. All right. Jimmy writes suspicious. Yep. And let me see what else writes. All right. Dirty Jersey 5 says, Black women, we need our original teachers back for our children. Black Republicans 2028. I think the Republican Party might still survive in the next election term. I think they will. Only time will tell. We shall see. And what's next? Jimmy Ratskin. They want to restrict women's rights to choose not to date them. Okay. And the other one, Numb Guy writes, deleting babies is evil. Yes, indeed. I will put up there, but you know. All right, let me see what else we're writing. Yeah, you guys can't use the word, that word. You might have to use a different word. One, Google did allow, but if you're using the same word, actually no, it allow it. Try to change the word from K to deleting if you can. But I'll read it still because you guys posted it and Google did let it go through. Sure, it's evil to delete babies. Trump ordered a missile strike. All right, well, yeah. All right, let's continue on with their debate.
Like Andrew Breitbart said, that politics is downstream from culture. There's a lot of people in this, manosphere, which I'd include you in that, you know.
I debate, me and Andrew both debate against manosphere guys.
Yes,
so.
But you have a lot of similar opinions, which is that women don't have equal value to men and that they should not vote. And I think that's toxic, and it's part of the culture, and it is flowing downstream, and it is affecting politics. And as a result, Rachel, young women in this country are the most left-wing they've ever been in history before. I wonder what that is, and I wonder if telling those young girls that they, are not smart enough to vote, that they are not emotionally mature enough to vote, is going to bring them to our side. I think that is a personal thing as well, like as an individual. You seem to have a higher emotionality rate than myself, and the same goes for men. That can vary.
You just talk and talk and talk. You're just gish galloping.
We're going to be here.
This is
we're
a
going to be
gish
here
gallop.
for 5 hours,
but it has
Rachel,
to be a
so
back
we're
and
gonna
forth
be
exchange. I don't want to hear about your all you just gave me was emotions. You just gave me a whole. I feel like this, and I think that.
No, I didn't feel, and I think I gave you specific examples. But now I'll turn it back over to you again, Rachel. Why shouldn't women vote?
Might I quickly ask a moderation question here? You had posited that women turning to becoming more left-leaning is because of sentiments that Rachel holds.
Yeah.
Rachel, do you believe that this trend in women becoming more left-wing is because of some of this rhetoric, or?
Well, I'll answer that in a second,
Sure.
but first I want to point out that she's a contradiction machine. I had to wait and wait and wait for, yes, first you were like, ooh, I got her. She doesn't believe in democracy. Ooh, that's a good clip. I'm going to tell everybody she doesn't believe in democracy. And then you said, we're not a democracy. We're a representative republic.
Constitutional
So which
republic.
is it? Do you believe in democracy or no?
I believe in democracy because a constitutional republic is a mix of a constitution that holds specific inalienable rights for people, and then a democracy where people vote on things that are not up for debate. Do you understand those two concepts?
Of course I do.
Okay,
You're the one
great.
that doesn't
Fantastic.
understand those two concepts
Fantastic.
because you don't understand the difference
Okay.
between the founding form of government and the one we have now. You want universal suffrage. That's a progressive position. You just contradicted yourself on
human rights
multiple
position.
counts. You said, if I don't agree with women voting, that means I hate women. And I said, the vast majority of women never wanted votes. They didn't want
And I
votes
said
for
that
women.
does not matter.
They even banned women from voting on whether they wanted to vote. It's my turn now. I know you're waiting to speak, but let me finish. Women didn't want to vote. They weren't hateful. I don't hate women. I'm not emotional. I'm overly emotional here or something. I'm saying that women are of equal value. That doesn't mean that they have the same roles as men. This idea, what you're doing is muddying the waters and saying, unless we're the same across the board, that's inequality. Again, a leftist position. Time after time after time, you say you're for liberty, you say you're for rights,
Correct.
you say you're conservative,
Yep.
but every idea you articulate is a left-wing progressive idea. And you keep contradicting yourself. Your worldview is, no, I haven't contradicted myself at all.
Okay.
Me not wanting women to be involved in politics does not in any way mean that I hate them. In fact, it's out of love for them that I don't want them involved in this sort of stuff. For the same reason, I don't want them
right now with this debate that we're having in front of a ton of people.
No, pro-suffrage and anti-suffrage women debated. Women have always, women can talk to each other, and women have always debated each other.
Why not do that at home? Why in front of an audience of people? Isn't that getting directly involved in politics?
No, it's
and
not.
Wanting to influence politics? Because we're arguing here for different political prescriptions, right, for what we think is best for society. And somebody that might be watching might think, you know, Rachel's a hypocrite because she's, you know, over here debating instead of being at home with the kids like a good conservative woman should do. I'm against that, by the way. I don't think that should be the case. But what would you say to those people?
I've addressed this criticism so many times, and if you had prepared at all for this debate, if you had watched any of my stuff, you'd know what my answer to this is already.
Go for it.
It was never the case that women couldn't speak in public. It was never the case that women couldn't have opinions, couldn't write books, couldn't have, you know, discourse in public.
Sure about that?
It's what?
You're sure? Okay.
I'm sure about that. Yes, that is a commonly held myth. That women, people think that women were not allowed. If women were not allowed, how come we had suffragists and feminists publicly speaking, writing books, doing speaking tours, doing debates from the 1700s on? And even before that, my book has a whole chapter where I give multiple examples of women being able to have a voice. Just because they couldn't vote or hold political office, just because there were limitations, that's not oppression. Again, that's a leftist position. For you to say women have to be able to do everything men can do, there should be no gendered roles, we should all have all options open. That's a progressive position.
Roles, that's a
so
little
you're
bit broad,
saying women should be able to do anything men can do.
I never said that.
Yeah, if men can vote, women should be able to vote.
Same
If
legal
men
rights and financial rights, yes, but not do everything men can do.
Why?
You know.
Why should it be the case that women should be able to vote?
Why? Because we have equal inherent values as human beings.
Says who?
Says me. Says
you.
God. Right, you know, that we are also
where does God
equal as well. But let's
we have
go back.
equal value. No. We're not going to go back. Equal rights. Explain equal rights to me. Why do all people have the exact same rights?
Because rights are representative of values. I'll go back to the argument of, you know, how certain people shouldn't have equal voice because of, you know, their tax contributions in the U.S.
So
and whatnot.
But you don't believe all people should vote. So you don't believe all people should vote.
Let me finish. To get to the point, the more recent point we were making, you said that women could freely express themselves and, you know, do all of that. Are you denying that women were, I guess, silenced in any way, shape, or form in recent history, let's say in the 19th century, the 20th century, that women, you know, if they tried to be vocal about their beliefs, that they were not repressed in any kind of way, yes or no?
If you're talking about like stigma, like people didn't like it or it was looked down upon, so what? I'm saying it was not illegal.
No, I'm not talking
about
it.
It was never illegal.
Let Rachel finish. Go.
So to that point then, it is clear and documented reality, for example, that if women, even in the 20th century, right, up until the 1960s, we are still doing lobotomies on people here in the U.S. and lobotomies on women. So
on just women?
No, not just
this
women.
This is another myth. I'm glad she brought this up.
Let me finish talking. Not
Go
just
ahead.
women, but a majority of women. Absolutely, yes. This was happening in the U.S. still in the 1960s. So loud, opinionated women could be easily diagnosed with something like hysteria or anxiety or anything, be carted off to an institution, and then be recommended different medications like opium tinctures, right? Happy pills for moms that were acting too crazy and that were overwhelmed. Forms of heroin, alcohol, nerve tonics, right? A very popular one before Valium, which happened in the 1960s, was barbiturates, right? From the 1900s to the 1950s. So in recent history, you could say that women's voices have been stifled and repressed, and I'm obviously against that. So you can't say that, no, women just had a right to say whatever they want, do whatever they want in recent history, and there was just equality for them. This is documented facts and documented history.
Okay, first of all,
Go ahead.
I don't think anybody should be able to just do whatever they want. That's you, the
agree.
libertarian. That's you, the libertarian leftist, who thinks people should just be able to do whatever they want.
To clarify, 2 seconds, I do believe that people should do what you want as long as you don't hurt others and you don't take their stuff. So yeah.
So do what thou wilt.
Do what you want.
Do what
don't
thou wilt
hurt
shall be
others,
the whole of
don't
the
take
law.
their stuff.
Yeah.
However, myself, I personally want to live my life in a more traditional conservative role.
Driena,
what everybody else does is not my business.
The epitome of the left libertarian. That is a
in
left
your opinion.
No, not in my opinion. That
No, it
is
is
the
not.
definition of left libertarian politics.
As before they continue on with this, I'm gonna look in the chat room and start respond to your comments now. Make sure like, comment, subscribe to the channel. And we got a few comments. And let me see what we're doing on the likes here. Let's take a look. We can do more likes. We got a couple people watching. All right, let's look. I'm scrolling up and I'm looking at my end, and we got a whole lot of comments. There's a lot of comments. I'm not sure what Google allow, what they don't allow. Okay. One person writes, equal to unborn women. Okay. Babies aren't women. Okay. That's creepy thing to say. One ruly guy writes, babies one day become okay because they are women. Okay. Laughing out facts by Mitch Wiggs 3001. Okay. Yeah. All right. Next question by Jimmy Bolin. They're not women until they grow up. Yep. Next comment. Doesn't mean they are women. Okay. Mitch Wiggs 301 writes, Does she know the Constitution has been changed like 30 plus times? You know what, Mitch? I don't think when they call Driena Sixto knew about that. I don't think so. I don't think she's really well versed of constitutional law, in my opinion. I don't think Rachel said anything about it, so I think you're talking about Miss Saxon. But let's move on. I'm trying to look good, make sure everything's going well. Hold on. Bolin writes, a baby will one day be 21. Should I give it alcohol? Yeah. Good question. Then Mitch writes again, radical leftists just don't understand. Next by Bolin, everything is left to fascists. Yep. Wiggs 3301 writes again, I agree with her. Women make decisions with emotion. Yes. Bolin writes, humans make decisions with emotion. And you know, the issue of emotion has its place in certain environments. But in regards to a debate, no, you should not be emotional during a debate, in my opinion. You should be as well-rounded and well-logic when you go into making conscious decisions that affect you and the whole. Let's see. Hold on. I can't really continue. The chat was getting a little odd. It's hard for me to put up some of these comments or which one Google did allow. Oh, wow. There's some things Google denied. I'm about to put a pause right now because there's certain comments you guys wrote did not allow, Google didn't allow. Well, actually, let me write this one. Trump doesn't want, he wants what he wants. Other people be banned. Damn, he is out for numbers 1, and he is the one. Okay. And Jimmy Boiler writes, women weren't allowed to open their own bank accounts until the 60s, and marital rapes or grapes of women was considered a crime until 1990. You know, that thing I find interesting about the marital touching, that if your wife is not giving you no coochie, my dude, maybe you should have your side woman in the side and blow her back out. Just saying. Let me see what else. Following any rule is fascist to them. Okay. And Bola writes, laughing out, Andrew Wilson gets crazy emotional in debates. Okay. And last one, and very final comment, the 25th is the patient. Okay. All right, let's move on. Like, comment, subscribe to the channel. If you support the channel, hit the super chat. Let's go.
That you just articulated. Do whatever you want as long as you don't hurt anybody else, bro.
And don't take their
And taxation is theft, man. And like, I wouldn't choose it, but you should be able to do what you want. You know what I'm saying? Without daddy government like breathing down your neck and stuff, bro. She's like,
that's
absolutely.
what our founding fathers believed.
You are not a Republican.
That's what our founding fathers believed.
You're not a
Yes, they
Republican.
did.
You're not a conservative, and you're most definitely a feminist. Now it's my
Sure.
turn to finish.
Rachel.
All your nonsense about women getting lobotomies. Men were given lobotomies all the time too. I did a whole project on this.
But mostly women.
No, on MK Ultra.
Disproportionately
No, be quiet.
women.
It's my turn.
Go
My
ahead.
turn. You're getting a little emotional.
People can
getting
Google.
a little emotional.
No, I'm
not
not.
able to control your yapping.
No, I'm
yap,
not.
yaps.
But people can Google stuff for themselves.
Yes,
and
they
see
can.
Those
And
statistics.
if they get my book, they're going to read all about that too. Clearly, you didn't read the book. You could have saved yourself so much time with all these
Sure.
bad arguments if you had taken the time to have them debunked before this. But no, men were also locked up in mental institutions, forced to give in lobotomies. That was not a gender-specific thing whatsoever.
Yes, it was.
There's always, no, let me clarify. Let me help you here. I'm going to educate you a little bit. Women have always, everywhere in every culture, and this is verified right now by 2 huge studies that looked at all different cultures around the world in 2009, and then they did a follow-up several years later. It's called The Paradox of Women's Happiness. Women everywhere are more prone to mental illness, anxiety, depression, and all types of mental problems. That is not men oppressing us. That happens to be a fact of how women are. And yes, most of it's biology and hormones, but a lot of it is just the fact that female constitutions are much more susceptible to negative effect. This is a
majority of suicides are men.
well-established This is a well-established fact in clinical psychology as well. They wouldn't even deny it.
Yeah.
Yes, more men commit suicides, but women attempt it more. Men are just better at actually following through. You know, it's that whole men being better at stuff thing again, I guess. But so that's a lie what you just told. And let's go back to this idea that, like, do you think that all men everywhere could vote before the 19th? Do you think that it was all the men could vote and they were like, don't let the girls vote, you guys. We have to keep our boot on their neck.
There were property rights. There were property distinctions. So some men that didn't own property could not vote. There were a lot of requirements. There were literacy tests as well.
Yes.
So yes,
there were poll taxes. There were religious restrictions. There were all kinds of restrictions on men's voting.
All of them that were deemed what? Unconstitutional, Rachel. Right?
After
what?
After the progressive era, when progressives took control of the government, they passed the 19th Amendment. That was a progressive agenda, ma'am. You're not a conservative. I hate to break this to you. You are a liberal progressive.
The U.S. Constitution being clarified is not a progressive thing, right? Making sure throughout the years that it is clarified that all people have the same equal rights, inherent value, and voting rights is not a progressive issue. That's what you're choosing to call it.
It radically, that's not true. It radically transforms the identity of this country.
I'm choosing to call it steps in the right direction towards individual liberties, which conservatives believe in. Conservatives believe in the rights of the individual. If you are against that, then you are not conservative.
I
right?
don't use the label conservative.
And
You're the one who uses the label conservative, not me.
I'm broadly
and I'm telling you,
conservative.
you're not conservative.
And I also have libertarian
Everything-
values too. You know, you can't really put people in two boxes like that nowadays because not everybody's opinions on every single little topic, there's like 200 different things we could discuss, is going to fall cleanly
then.
into conservative or libertarian.
So what you want to conserve
right?
is Obama era policies. You want to what are you
one.
conserving?
Name one.
Any. I'm
Name
asking
one,
you
Rachel.
one
Name
thing you're
one.
conserving.
Name one.
What are you
Rachel.
conserving?
No, you just said Obama era
Gay
policy.
marriage.
Obama. Oh my God. That again.
You want to conserve Obama era politics. You can't give me any conservative position you hold that you want to. What are you conserving? This is why I don't call myself Republican. Why I don't call myself conservative.
That's what I'm conserving.
Freedom to marry your boyfriend and smoke weed and not pay taxes. Okay.
Individual liberties for another generation. Your freedom of speech, Rachel. I am very much trying to conserve that because if it wasn't for conservatives, then all of your opinions, you know, if we're not under this administration that we currently are right now, if we were under a government like the UK's, you'd probably be put in jail as soon as this podcast was over for saying something like, I'd be happy that black women wouldn't vote, and a bunch of other
I didn't say that. Wait. We have to back that up because
yes,
I did
I don't
not
exactly
say that.
remember the words, but you
I
said
did not.
it'd be beneficial for
gotta let me
black women
clarify
to
that.
not,
Of course,
for black
absolutely.
women to not
Can-
vote
can you
because
just-
they would
No.
vote
Hold on, just
primarily
for
against
the
Republicans.
purposes
Yeah, what
of
was
clarity.
exactly her?
You
Well,
her
you
wording on
said
What
You would-
what
if-
are you asserting?
Do you want to like play it back? Her clip
It's
on it?
difficult for us to.
I can
to
tell you
find it.
exactly what
Okay,
happened.
so-
She said, "Oh, if you're going to deny votes based on sex, then you're also going to have to not let black people vote." And I said,
That's
"That's
not what I said.
absurd." You said you would have to.
That's
and
not
I
what I said.
I said I absolutely would not say that you would ever have to say black people can't vote. I'm not for that. I'm against that. I do not believe that race should be the defining factor in who gets to vote
But
whatsoever.
Gender, yes. But gender,
Gender
yes.
should be part of it, and I'll tell you why. Women do not have to sign up for the draft.
Yeah.
Women do not have to defend this country with their bodies. In fact, the anti-suffragists articulated this and said,
I disagree
we
with the
don't
drafts.
want to be involved with politics. Just let me finish.
Go
Just let
ahead.
me finish.
Disagree
The
with
women
drafts.
who didn't want to be political equals with men said, why would you task us with something we can't do? We can't defend the borders. We can't defend the nation. We can't rule the nation. Men have the monopoly on force. That's for men to do. We want men to protect us and our children. Our role is to raise the children. That's too important. We can't be involved in politics
So it's
for that
important
reason.
for women to raise children, right? It's an
Yes.
important role, right? A role important and equal enough for them to vote on the future of this country and the rules that they live by, right?
All right. Since somebody talk about the lobotomies, and I see some in the chat room about lobotomies. I'm not sure Rachel is aware of it or not. And I think Jimmy Bowler wrote about lobotomies, right? Let's take a look at lobotomies for a brief second. I'm not gonna hold this long because I want to continue on with their discussion. And the conversation they have is pretty fair so far. The majority or the major 1951 studies of the United States hospitals found that nearly 6% of lobotomies patients were women. In some institutions, disparities was even higher. For example, Stockton State Hospital in California, 1947 through 1954. That's a period of nearly that's 7 years. 85% of lobotomies patients were women, even though men made up the majority of patients in the hospital. Overall, out of the estimate 40,000 to 50,000 lobotomies performed in the United States, most in the 1940s and early 1950s, women were disproportionately targeted. This pattern was not unique in America. Some of the gender imbalance appear in other countries as well. Question: why women receive more lobotomies? And this is why, when you debate anybody, including Miss Sexton. You must ask these so-called fake, or let's be honest, they're not really conservative women. Let's keep real. Questions: why you bitches are getting your brain and front lobes, or where part of your brain cut off during the 50s? Here's the reason why you got your brain cut off. Hysteria, or non-conformity. Women were often diagnosed with vogue conditions like hysteria, nervousness, anxiety, depression, promiscuity. Behaviors that deviate from the idea of 1950s housewife role being too emotionally argumentative, ambitious, sexually active, or unhappy in marriage, were frequently pathologized as mental illness warranting drastic interventions. That's one reason. The second reason is productivity and domestic roles. Lobotomy advocate, especially Walter Freeman, promotes the procedure as a way to make patients more manageable and productive. For women, this often meant turning them into clams, obedience housewives who could perform household duties without complaint. Number 3, easier consent. Husbands or male family members could more easily authorize a procedure for wives or daughters. Women had less legal and social autonomy at the times. And what else? Number 4, and last one, medical bias. Doctors, mostly men, view women emotionally expression as more problematic than men. Conditions like schizophrenia were more common in men in asylums, but women were still choosing for lobotomies at high rates. So lobotomies were used as a tool to enforce gender norms, to fix women who don't fit the submissive domestic ideal of areas. This is now recognized as one of the darkest and most misogynistic chapters in American medical history. Okay, so that's the rundown of why you chicks get your brains cut off. Now we're going to focus on the chat room briefly, and thank y'all for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me look ahead, see who leave chat. Okay, we're going to start off with this one. 6% of most anonymous Mitch. Trump wants to bring back poll tax. Okay. Mike Hike G1W writes, exactly, the Constitution is not progressive. Living, breathing, challenging for the... I'm going to say this, I'm going to give you a fair warning. You in my chat room, I do not want to see that word, the F-U-C-K word, on my chat. If I see it, I will not read it. If I see it multiple times, I will remove it. Use another word, please. Use another word, please. This is content. Be respectful and have goddamn sense when you're using language. I do not, and I will not advocate or condone the F word in my chat room. So I'm going to ignore that chat altogether. And let me check any fields you put as. Yeah, you put more. So now I'm going to skip your whole entire chat. You're going to have to rewrite all that over. And that's been draft. The draft is not justified anymore. See the Democrats. All right, let me see. Yeah, you're going to have to rewrite all this because I'm not like what I'm reading. Yeah, all right, I'm gonna keep going because nothing's really
right? Or do you think it's not important enough of a role for them to vote?
The problem with that is it comes down to force. So you can have an opinion, and women did. So you don't need voting rights in order to have your voice be heard. A good example of this is prohibition. Women, The Women's Temperance Union got prohibition passed. Bad idea, by the way, but somebody listened to the women, so we got prohibition passed because this was a pet project of the Women's Christian Temperance Union. They did not need to vote to get their voices heard. They did not need to vote to have their agenda passed. So you don't need
So why
voting
does it
rights
matter
to be
then?
heard.
So
What do
why
you
does
mean?
it matter then that they do have it?
Because what happens, this is what the anti-suffragists also predicted. They were very smart women. These women were not hateful and they were not stupid, and they've been done dirty by history, which is why I'm here trying to help revive this. Anti-suffrage women said, if we become a political bloc, we lose the moral high ground. What will happen is politicians will pander to us. They will make us just another voting bloc. They will promise a whole bunch of things that sound really good and do what they want anyway.
Don't they do it already
and by
for
that,
everybody?
yes, they do, which is why I'm against it. It's why I don't like the
No,
system.
for men and for women.
Yeah, that's why
Politicians
I
do
don't
it for
like
men.
democracy. It's why I don't like the system. But that aside, these women
We're
said,
clarifying that.
if
again.
we become just another political voting bloc, we lose the moral high ground we have. Before women could vote, they could stand up and say, we think you need to do something about clean water. We think you need to do something about safety in public parks. We want better schools. We want more prohibitions on alcohol. Whatever it was, their agenda was heard and got passed without them having to vote.
Unless it was something completely too radical, right? And in that case, then they'd be sent to an institution for crazy people and lobotomized.
They did that to men too. They did that to radical men too. It
Yeah,
was not
absolutely.
a gendered thing.
Basically, individuals, right? People that have a way of thinking that was more individualist, those are the ones that usually get shut down and have their rights trampled upon in history, which is, again, why it is so necessary for the individual to have equal voting rights and an equal voice within the political system that they have to live under. If we were anywhere else, outside of this podcast and debate right now, we'd have to stop talking right now because, there's no point in trying to convince somebody that, an individual has human rights, equal rights, and we're just going to have to agree to disagree on that and make it clear to the public on where we stand on
Yeah.
your stance being anti-women's rights, anti-voting rights, anti-equality. And my whole point here is to just make it clear that that is the case and that that is not representative of the conservative movement of a whole, and that it is counteractive, counterintuitive, and a negative thing for us because it's just turning more young women to the left seeing these kinds of positions.
You don't think the fact that we have to pander to the emotions of young women, what you just told me is, Rachel, don't say that out loud, because we have to pander to the feelings of young women because they have a lot of voting power, they have a lot of political power, and so we have to tell them what they want to hear, and we have
Not
to
what they
give
wanna
them
hear.
what they want.
the truth.
We
Hold
have
on, let her finish.
We have to tell them what they want to hear. We have to give them what they want. Because if we don't, they won't vote for us anymore, Rachel. Don't you think that's a problem? And
You don't
I'm
care about
saying-
voting.
I'm saying that you're thinking about it wrong, and most people do. The whole framing of how you're framing the argument is the problem. The system is the problem. We shouldn't have to appeal to the emotions of certain voting blocs, which is what Black Lives Matter is, which is what the feminist agenda is, which is what identity politics is. When you give everybody one person, one vote, you end up with all these special interest groups. You end up with all these little voting blocs, and politicians have to pander to them. And so you get these radicalized movements fighting for this group's rights and that group's rights. And I'm saying I do think that that's we've ended up in a place where with your universal democracy where everybody gets a vote, we're going to end up in nonstop, like basic gang wars, political gang wars.
All
so
I'm
that's
hearing
the problem.
is that you're really bad at making an argument for what you believe in and would rather just shut down the entire political discourse and keep people from having an opinion. My argument is that I think that what I believe in is good and that I can present my opinions to people that disagree with them and flip them over to my side because my opinions are based on realities and facts. And again, if you're trying to argue that it's bad for women to vote because a majority of women vote Democrat, right, in the past, and we're trying to get women, or we're trying to live under conservative policies, then again, you'd have to say that you'd be okay with people that disagree with you not having political rights, voting rights, namely Black Americans, that 80 to 90% vote Democrat in political presidential elections. And I'm saying that I would be against that. I feel like even though it is most definitely an uphill battle, my task is to make sure that I talk to those groups and show them why our side is better, right? Not just to completely shut them down. It's work, Rachel. It absolutely is work. It is framing. It is being a convincing person. It is having to provide, that's what I brought here, proof and, different studies
Yes,
and things from
your
the
color
from the
organized
NIH.
folders are very impressive. I'm sure you got straight A's in
Yes,
school, but can we get back to the debate, because you
did
just talk and
actually.
talk
I
and
did,
talk.
Rachel.
So are you going to tell the young women that you want to vote Republican in the next election? Are you going to go to the college campuses and tell those young women, look, I don't like pornography. It's really destructive. We have to make OnlyFans illegal. We can't have it anymore.
I think that we need to discourage people from using it.
Oh, but you don't want to actually outlaw it.
It'd be good if it did not exist, but again, I think that we're attacking the problem from the wrong end.
I see. So
Yes.
you want us to tell the men that the watching it is bad, but the young ladies producing it, we can't tell the young ladies producing it that
It's
they
bad.
can't make pornography anymore,
It's
because
bad.
then they'll get upset and they won't vote for Republicans
No.
in the next election. So we have to say, ladies, look,
It's
I'm going to
bad.
appeal to your better sensibilities, and we'll see how this goes on the Dating Talk podcast. If we have some OnlyFans girls, I
There
can't
will
wait.
be.
I can't wait to hear you
lot of
convince them, and I hope that by the end they quit. I do. I hope that by the end you can convince them and they can quit. I think the odds of that happening are basically zero. Are you
disagree
willing
with
to
that.
outlaw
And
pornography?
you're a Christian, right? You're a Christian
Yes,
yourself.
of course.
Wasn't the whole point of, Jesus talking to people that sinned to bring them to their side by engaging with them and talking to them?
Do you
not
think
just
that
dismissing
Jesus
them
wanted
as a whole?
OnlyFans to be legal?
Of course not, but I think
Of course not. So
but I
let's-
think he'd talk to the women that are engaged in that whole thing, because
Are
unfortunately,
you going to go to the college campuses
prostitution-
and tell these young girls to
let
stop
each
doing
other-
OnlyFans or
Let each other
no?
finish, please.
prostitution, it's called the oldest career for women in the books. And again, it does not make it a good thing. But I think the problem comes from the demand side of things. Women also have lots of temptations that could corrupt them, right? But it's up to us being accountable for ourselves, holding ourselves accountable for if we decide to consume certain things. or
Yeah,
engage
that's
in
working
certain
out great.
behaviors.
That's working out great. Are you aware of the numbers of how many young women?
Of how many women engage in that versus how many men consume that? Yes, I actually am very aware of the numbers.
Oh,
Unless
by the way, women
and less
consume
than-
plenty of pornography.
Yes,
This
about
idea that it's only
20%.
men is baloney.
I agree. I never said that. About 20% average women do consume pornography. It's about 70% of men that do consume
What happens if we
pornography.
count written pornography? What happens if we count stuff like 50 Shades of Grey? Then how many women engage in
I don't know
in
the details.
consuming
I don't know the
pornography?
details
Oh,
to
well,
that
let me
kind of
help you.
stuff.
It's the best-selling book of all time among female readers.
Okay.
So
A side note for correction for Rachel, and this is what she should do. Women consume more literature, adult content. They want to read fantasies of getting tied up, being put on ropes, having the man have the belt, tying the back of their arms and taking some object and whipping their butt while penetrating them and hitting the back. Or any form of choking, any form of bondage. Most women are very enticed to that. So that is just equally and even as more severe than the visual porn, personally. Because you reading it is actually identical than a man watching it. Because you're fantasizing what you want to be done on you in the bedroom. It's no different. And that's one thing that Miss Sexton don't get. You're trying to tell men to stop watching adult content. But in return, you chicks are reading about adult content to the point now you come across a man that you even like, and let's say you're in a relationship, you're not going to do the same thing you do to the man that you really like. You want that man that you are actually engaged in. That's not your boyfriend, husband, but that dude that you wanted just to get a sneaky link to engage in all forms of 50 Shade and Gray on your ass. Keep it real. Oh, and I like this comment. Wait, let me see. I'm gonna post this comment because Google didn't allow it, but I'm gonna post your comment, Anthony. Ladies are perverts. Yes, there's just as probably the neck and neck the same as perverts as men. But you see, the problem in society, they want to point men as the bad guy. Who wants to turn to the bad guy? You look on to men. And that's what the society does. That's what they promote, that's they push. So yeah. All right, let's keep going. Let's go. Let me see if that comment went for. I'm gonna read your comment, Jim Boy. You're right. No Chaos Reign show. It's a fantasy. Women don't necessarily want this. They want to fantasize. No, let me tell you something, Miss Boyle. And I'm gonna be respectful. And I'm gonna tell you this. Any form of thinking, reading, leads to visual fantasies. Let me explain. Let me make myself bigger for those, so you guys can hear me. Hear me well. I'm putting the mic towards me. If you're reading about fantasy, in essence, you are daydreaming and fantasizing what you want to be done on you. We gotta be more logic. We gotta think thoroughly, gentlemen and ladies that's in my chat room. Think good. If I could read about the fantasy, I'm already portraying in my head the visuals of what I want done on me visually. And mind you, they don't do studies of what you think visually after reading in your head. Have you noticed that? They always say that the data shows that they buy these books, they read these books, they like it. They're not telling you about, okay, what you think and what you see yourself visually when you read these books. I'm a person, I ask the real crucial question. I don't sugarcoat shit with y'all. For a person to write these novels, which if I gotta really double back and double check who writes these novels, I guarantee you it'd probably be women. These are in the psyche and psychological images that a woman came up in her head to come up with these books, if it's a woman writing it. And I'm gonna double check after this. And who's the one that's writing these sex novels the most? I guarantee it's women. And if I'm right, it will conclude that these women are already engaged in this physically and they're writing books, or they're fantasizing. First, they see visually in their mind, they see in their image in their head, then eventually they write it down in paper. So I'm not holding much time. We're going to kick you on. Yes, it is. Oh, yes, it is. Oh, and the person right there's fantasy or imagery. Yes. Remember, you got to have imagination to come up with these books. You can't just come up off the window. You have to visually see yourself 9 tenths of the time when you come up with anything on paper. And when we talk about depicted description aspects, you have to really visually see that to really put that on paper on the average. And most of the time. Or you are engaged in this already and you put it on paper. So what I'm gonna do right now, I'm gonna continue to play this and I'm gonna find who writes more of these sex novels.
Women consume plenty of pornography.
So-
they just tend to like to read it so they can insert themselves into the nasty sex scene,
Which
then
is
watch the
bad,
actual videos.
Which is bad,
Yeah.
right? So shouldn't we be addressing again so are you going to tell people they should stop writing books? Is that your next move, Rachel?
I would absolutely have limits on pornography being produced in all
speech,
forms.
yes. On written speech.
I don't agree
There we
that
go.
see, she's a leftist libertarian. She thinks that porn is free speech. This is your MAGA Republican woman.
I think
this is your feminist, your not feminist conservative advocate. You know, she's going to get everybody to vote for conservatives. She's going to talk. It always
think you're
reduces to the
bad.
men.
You're
It
just-
always you're
Not
just
the men.
You're exactly what I thought you were. You're worse than I thought you were. It's always, what about the men though? I go, are you going to
Not
tell
the men.
are you going to tell the women to stop? Wait a minute. Are you going to tell the women to stop making porn for men to
Yes.
consume? And she goes, no, I would just
Yes.
encourage them. I would say
That
you
was not your
probably
question. No,
shouldn't,
no, that was
sweetie.
not your
And I'm
question.
going to tell the men that they can't have the porn.
Relax, Rachel. Breathe. Who saw?
I'm entertaining. If we had to listen to you blah blah yap all night long, and everybody would leave the chat, nobody would want to be here. So.
Sure, that is not what I said. You asked if I'd make it illegal.
Yeah.
And no, but I would tell women to stop doing it. Those are two completely different
Oh,
things.
well, that's okay. She's
Yes.
going to tell the women to stop doing it, and they're going to go, okay.
Show them that there's a better way. Yes, absolutely.
Well,
that is what you do,
got to work
Rachel,
harder.
in
You
the
got to work
public-
harder
in
because
the
it ain't
public
working.
discourse.
It ain't working. This libertarian idea that we can just talk
It is-
people into doing what's logical
This
is the whole problem.
Libertarian idea that
Yeah.
we could talk people into doing what we want, that's not a libertarian idea. That
Yes,
has
it is.
existed from the beginning of
Your
time.
idea
This is
is
a thing
that,
from, let me
okay, I'll
finish
just let
that.
you
Yeah,
yappity yap.
Exactly. From the beginning of time in Rome, where people would like gather in a town square and then talk about their ideas and then decide on whether they agreed with them or not. So you're arguing again against people discussing ideas and proving why they're better than others, which is bad enough
I'm
as
not
is,
arguing
but
against it,
but,
I'm doing it right now. But I'm
but
saying I do
let's
think
go back to-
I do think that we should make certain things illegal. Yes, I don't think it should just be do whatever you want, bro.
How did the war on drugs work out? How has it worked out this entire
Are you going to
time?
tell the young women on the college campuses that you're trying to get to vote Republican that they can't have abortions? Are you going to tell them that's killing babies and you can't do that anymore?
I'll explain.
Or are you
to
just
them.
going to try to talk them out of
You
it? and
just
go,
you just presented a question to me. Actually, how I would attack that question is showing why abortion is the killing of a human being based on biology, not on religious arguments or anything like that. The beginning of a human life starts at conception, right, and ends at death. Conception, fetus, baby, toddler, all of that is part of the human developmental life cycle. And so if you believe in individual rights, then, and not killing innocent people, then you have to argue against abortion. That is my argument. It is a logical one.
Okay.
And it is one that made me, like when I was much younger, I had different opinions on abortion because of what I was taught in school. I was taught that it's okay if like the baby doesn't have nerve endings and then you could just suck it out and whatever. And I'm like, oh, well, then maybe in a few weeks, then it doesn't really matter. But that's actually not the case. It's from conception. That's the beginning of the human life cycle. But again, this is just education, right? Educating people, which you have to do. You can't just tell people no voting
yeah,
for
I know.
you, ma'am.
We're gonna educate all the problems away. We're just gonna change everyone's mind.
Yep, we're gonna
didn't you bring
educate.
up-
We're gonna educate the
Okay.
problems away, Rachel.
Didn't you-
That's the plan.
Yeah, that's worked great. We have more
It's
educated
working.
people are more educated now in human history than ever before. It's not an information problem and it's not an education problem. It's a moral problem, and that's where the rub is. Didn't you bring up was it the Stanford prison study?
Oh, I did.
Yeah,
In the last.
where you said they had to stop the experiment 6 weeks in or something
Do you
like
want me
that.
to do? Are you handing it
So-
over to me? For
yeah,
me to go?
tell us about that.
Let's talk about that because it
Okay.
actually is it's a really good one where basically they took in volunteers, students to play as prison guards and another group of volunteers to be prisoners. And what happened after a certain short period of time is that these prison guards started to abuse these fake prisoners so badly that they had to stop the experiment. And my argument using that example was that when individuals have undue power over others, then it is just making it prone to abuse, right? So if men and women don't have equal voting rights and power, then women are
Okay, but
equally subject.
pause for
they
just
are
a
going
second.
to
I
be
just wanted you to
subject
tell me about the study. I didn't
abuse
need, like, a
and
whole
abuse
diatribe
and
about-
discrimination. That's the point of the study, is that it is in our nature, unfortunately, as humans to take over and abuse those that have less power than us, which is why we need to have
Then let me ask you a
equal
question.
rights.
Why didn't they just pull these people aside, the people that were being the prison guard, why didn't they get Driena to come in?
Driena
and-
was not allowed to come in.
Okay, well, let's say Driena, they call Driena and they go, you need to come in here, and what we need you to do is talk to them and convince them why it's bad to abuse
Yeah,
these people.
yeah.
You need to educate them, Driena,
Yeah.
until they behave.
Yeah, I would have
Are you
gone in
gonna
there
t-
and told them, "Hey, you guys are y'all crazy? Are you guys okay?
Oh, yeah.
Do you know that
Can
this
you go
is
to
an
the
experiment?"
prisons for us? Can we get Driena to go to prisons and just
What-
talk to the criminals
You
until
think
the
that doesn't-
criminals understand, hey, listen, Listen,
Are you
buddy.
okay, Rachel? Relax, by the way.
Listen, buddy.
By the way, they do that in real prisons, right?
How's that working?
You've got pastors that go to real prisons.
And what is the success
and-
rate on educating criminals
and
out
they
of
bring
doing
them-
crime?
And they bring them books. And
Yeah,
they
what's
bring
the
them-
success rate?
And they bring them Bibles.
I know what they do.
right?
How well does
So,
it work?
I don't have statistical numbers in front of me. You want to pull that up, Brian?
Almost never. The recidivism
We can
rate
look that
for
up. So
most crimes.
Don't bring up
What
statistics.
What specific?
Don't bring up statistics because
Unless
then
you
I'll be
don't,
wrong.
unless you don't have it with you, basically.
We can look it up.
So let's chat GPT.
Like a recidivism rate for violent crimes.
That has nothing to do with somebody going in and talking to people to try to
But
convince
why
them to change
would
their
they
ways.
keep offending if we can just talk them out of it? We just say, listen, Mr. Murderer.
Not everybody is
you
going
just,
to-
You just need to be educated. This is another classic left wing. This is Black Lives Matter's whole thing. Yes, this is, if you go to Black Lives Matter's website, they want rehabilitation. They want to educate people out of doing crime. It's
Those
a
are two
left
different
wing
things that you're
position.
conflating.
Oh, no, we're just going to convince them. We're just going to convince people to do what's right for them. We're going to convince people to take the smarter
Are you
option.
okay? Take a breath. Da-da-da-da.
Yeah,
Okay,
you're,
there you
you're
go.
doing the thing that everybody does where they pretend that the other person is crashing out when they're not. It's not going to work. You're
What
getting
did
your butt
what
whooped.
did
You
you
are.
want me to look
Yeah,
up
let's
the
see
stat?
if any programs in prison from pastors or that reintegrate people into society, get them educational degrees, because that's something that does
It has
happen.
to be a
But
lot more
what's,
concise than
yeah,
that.
what-
It would
what-
have
Yeah,
to
I
be
know.
like,
I know.
I do have, yeah.
Let's see if we can make it as concise as possible. What are the success rates of rehabilitation programs in prison? My argument,
they're well known
Rachel,
to be
Rachel,
extremely
Rachel,
abysmal.
Rachel.
That's why it
I agree.
doesn't work.
I agree. My thing
You
is,
can't educate people into making
Rachel.
moral choices, Driena.
For what specific crime? Is it just violent crime, drugs?
pick one for now, I guess.
Well,
See
it's
what-
Okay, how about
immediately-
this?
comes up.
Child sex offenders. Can we educate them into making better choices? Can Driena go and just sit them down
No.
and they have a dialogue and
Rachel,
she says, look,
are you
Mr.
done?
Child Sex Offender, I don't think that you're
Maybe-
violating someone else's personal rights, and on that basis,
Rachel.
I think you should stop it.
Rachel,
Rachel,
do you still want? Wait, one sec, really quick. Do you still want the recidivism rate for violent crime
Sure.
stat?
Yeah.
It's very
It
high.
says over 60% of violent offenders are rearrested for a new crime within 8 years of release. And then for yours, for addiction rehabilitation programs, it's not clear if that's just voluntary or
Yeah.
through the prison system, but the success rate ranges between 30% and 70%. Relapse rates of 40 to 60% within the first year. So I don't know if that's helpful.
yeah,
but.
so my argument.
All right, welcome everybody in the chat room. I see everybody in the chat room. What's good? What's good? I'm gonna look at y'all chats now. Make sure you like the stream, share the stream, and if you feel that anything of significance to the channel or anything you want to add on this polling, super chat will go well. All right, so let me see what's going on here. And I do have some new people on here. I gotta scroll up to the last comment I checked out. All right, which is why only. All right, Willie Play is new person. Welcome, Willie P. Respect. I did read your chat earlier, Willie P. Let people watch and read whatever they want to watch. Let people make whatever they want either. Okay. Douglas writes, which is why it's only hits 3 or 4s, correct? And let me double check my end, make sure these things go through. Let me see. I can't tell from my end, so I'm going to skip through some of y'all chats because some Google allows, some didn't, and I don't want to get confused. And like I said, Jimmy thinks that's not fantasy work. I read already. Your brain can fantasize, it doesn't mean imaginary. Okay, blah, 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 blah. All right, new person. Coach Ken86 writes, I think that the roast corn is better than boiling when it comes to on the yeah. Next comment. Darkwing writes, anyone that would appear in this show is a piece of garbage. Okay. Burns loots. Okay. All right, let's keep going, guys. And thank y'all. Make sure to hit the like button, guys. Hit the like button.
Argument is not that we not incarcerate people for these crimes. It's the fact that people can change and rehabilitate. It doesn't mean we even release them into society. It means that you can change people's minds, absolutely, while they're serving a prison sentence. It doesn't mean that they have a right to be reintegrated into society. So that's my thing, is that yes, even in prison, you can go in, even in prison, you can go in and you can preach the Bible to prisoners, or you can show them a better way, and you can absolutely rehabilitate them. I'm not arguing for lax criminal punishment laws. I disagree with that. But you're telling me, oh, you can just go into
You don't
prison.
want lax criminal laws.
Correct.
But why would you defend keeping OnlyFans legal? Why should we allow young women to create their own pornography, produce it, and put it out into the public? Why?
I disagree that it's bad, but the why is because then it sets a dangerous precedent for censorship in the future on things that other people don't like. Because let's say then we fall under the government. Let me finish. Let's say we fall under the government of we have a Democrat president, and they believe that people saying right-wing things on live shows like this is bad. So we are going to ban that. And they did, by the way, under the Biden administration. So that's what I'm saying. Banning things that we don't like and making it illegal is not the way to go. The way to go is showing people why you're right, with arguments, with facts, with logic. And we can't set the precedent that, we as conservatives and Republicans don't like pornography. It's bad. Therefore, we're going to make it illegal. Then when a Democrat president comes along, they'll say Republicans that...
I get your point. You don't have to keep repeating and repeating.
I feel like I need to for you to understand
No, it's
this.
not me
So you
who's
got
having
it, and
trouble
everybody at home
tracking.
got it, that it's a bad precedent. Do you understand that then?
If you take the libertarian progressive view that you have, sure. But what I would say is...
What?
We believe in right and wrong, don't we?
Yep.
Okay, why don't we make things illegal if they are inherently morally evil? You said in your opening pornography is evil. Why would we not criminalize why do we criminalize murder? Why?
Because then somebody that has a different definition of evil than me can criminalize something that I believe in. Like, for example, saying that abortion is murder, then, we should, and by the way, this is actually happening in the UK. If I go out in the UK and I say abortion is murder and I read the Bible, I'm in the middle of the street, I'm going to get arrested. That's what happens.
That's because leftists like you run the UK. People with your same political positions run the UK, and they go, you can't say that. You're going to hurt someone's feelings, and they'll be upset, and then they won't vote for the Labour Party anymore. We need the Muslim vote. Don't tell them they can't have grooming gangs. That's you.
I'm making the argument that you don't ban what you don't like, Rachel.
I'm not banning something because I don't like it. It's not that you think I want to ban pornography because I don't like it or because it's morally wrong.
Okay, that's what I believe too. I think it's morally wrong.
Then why wouldn't you make it illegal?
Because somebody else might think that's something I believe in, like second.
So you believe in moral relativism.
Rachel,
so everybody gets to have their own version of right and wrong?
Like Second Amendment rights, the right to own, guns or whatever, that's morally wrong because it kills people. And then when they're in power, they will ban things that they believe are morally wrong. So that's why you can't set that precedent,
It's
Rachel.
almost like this whole everybody voting thing is just a trap, and we're going to end up in a bad position no matter what we do, because it's inherently progressive, and it will give us a progressive society where we can't tell people the truth and we can't say what's right and wrong, because if we offend someone, they won't vote for us, and if we offend this group, they're going to start rioting. Are you starting to figure it out at all?
Not offend. Again, just because you can't make good arguments that convince people.
I'm not the one
doesn't
who's having
mean-
trouble making good
doesn't
arguments.
mean-
That would be you.
No, you're saying that we should not allow certain blocks of the population to vote because they would, down the line, vote against what you want. And that is obviously not the way to do things. The way to do things is by actually talking to certain blocks
You're
of
not
people.
framing that correctly either, though. I'm not saying, oh, don't let this group vote because then I won't get what I want. I asked
that's what
you-
I believe
Okay,
exactly what
listen,
you're saying.
Let me finish. You just yap and yap and yap. So let me finish first. You said at the beginning, you work in politics. Your job is to go around the country convincing, especially Spanish-speaking people, to vote for Republicans. You want them to vote for certain things.
I educate, yes, personally, yes, but in my current role, yes, I educate people on what are the political policies going on, who's promoting them, what they are, so that they can make educated decisions. Because with education,
I'm trying to do the same thing in a
Okay.
different way. And what I'm trying to tell you is that the fastest way to get to the dystopian nightmare that is the United Kingdom is to do what you're saying we should do. And you are also showing everybody that you're a moral relativist.
No, I think that the quickest way to get to where the UK is by banning free speech, which is what you just advocated for. And
How did they get there?
And banning things that you don't like.
How did they get there, though? Because the UK hadn't always had laws against free speech.
Nope.
They got that way because of mass immigration,
We can agree on
equality,
that. We can agree on that.
liberalism, all that
Absolutely.
stuff. Right.
We-
And that is what you'll
So
end
let's
up with.
address that
That's what
problem.
you'll end up with every time, because you can't just talk people into doing what's right. People vote
Yes, you can.
based on incentive. No, people vote based on personal incentive.
I agree with that too.
Yes. So if there's a group that comes into the country and they're getting welfare benefits, if there's single moms out there that get welfare benefits,
Which
things
is
like
highly illegal
they're
and should
always
have
going to
never
be
happened.
voting for that stuff. Yeah. But the reason we got that stuff is because women voted for it. Those things would have never been passed.
I don't think that
And
having an open border policy for 4 years, like what happened under the previous administration, is something that women voted for.
It is.
It's something
If
that
you- have you looked at the polling data
women did
on men
Rachel,
versus women
Rachel,
on
did
open
women,
borders?
Did women vote for the Mexican-American border to be completely open so that 20
They
million
voted for
so that
all
20
of the
million
people who
can-
instituted those
can
policies.
come in?
Yes. Yes.
No, they did not.
Yes, they did.
Well, first
have you
of all-
looked at border states?
first
You
of all,
just keep talking about presidential elections.
That's
Look
not
at border
something
states.
anybody has
Would either of you
ever-
like me to look up any stats on this? On the who's are men or women more in
Yeah.
favor of illegal immigration?
Of open
Or
yeah,
open
or
borders.
immigration,
I think
whatever.
a better one would be the percentage of Americans that are for voter ID, right? It's 83% nationally. So men and women, Democrat and Republican, for the most part, agree on this. So women are not just these
I'm not saying
irrational
everything
people.
women want is terrible and horrible.
Okay.
I'm
just
not.
the things you don't like.
It's not about me and what I like. I'm saying there's an objective right and wrong, and there's
exhausting.
objective morality.
I agree
You're
with
the
that.
one who thinks that we should be
I agree with
pandering
that.
to people's emotions.
Yes, actually, you know what? That's a great lesson to learn, is that people don't care about what you say until they know that you care about something.
Right.
So
women, for sure.
yes,
Men are
and-
much
and
more
men
open
too.
to logical. It's not
And men
100%.
too, but that's why you
women are
have to-
far more easily swayed and
Sure.
propagandized by emotion.
Sure, but that means that then
I don't
you
want a
have to
country
be-
run off of that system. I don't
You
want
have
that.
to, Rachel. It's called adapting, right? And
Not necessary. Most people in any nation, they're not going to be so willing or eager to adapt to a society that doesn't play in their favor. Look at the men today. A lot of men are walking out. They're not even participating in the system like it should be operating. Some men refuse to put in the working hours in the society. Hell, some men don't even want to try deal with relationships. And now what is now proven that some men even opt out to really focus on trying to get access to sex. And I forgot marriage as well. But so literally, most people do not really adapt well or choose to adapt in any society, period. It is not in their favor. So what Rachel's saying, I don't really agree on that much from what we've seen in the environment and how people moving right now, especially men. This environment is not favor to men, and men are moving accordingly, and a lot of women not liking it. Hell, look at social media, especially TikTok. TikTok's the worst. You're showing that you see the frustration. A lot of women complain about they're lonely, men not giving no attention. Hell, men not spending no money on them. They're crashing out more than the men. It tells you what men are doing right now, and they're exercising with their feet. And Miss Saxon really doesn't really see this. So, on a note, let me see who else is right in the chat room. Let me take a look at my phone. I think one person writes, no peep deep writes, Rachel's husband will never love her. Interesting. Okay. And who else writes? Let me see. Who else writes on here? Okay. Wait, before I continue, let me look on my end. All right. All right. One person writes, it's God's job to forgive and rehabilitate. Stay out of it. All you're good for is arguing. Cause harm to anyone, you get hammered. Interesting. And that's by, I guess, a Christian. Well, God does not live here, Mr. Sir. Just let you know. Next comment. This person writes, outfield 1988. That means you're about to be 38 years old this year. Shout out to you. I will never get married. If I was young again, they all find a way to justify divorce. And here's the funny thing, outfield. Women will divorce a man that is doing pretty decent. And think about this, gentlemen. Divorce is like a instant retirement papers for a lot of women, because now if you're, let's say, do more better than her, they're going to capitalize significantly off this divorce. They're going to make more. They're going to gain more. And you're going to be caught with holding the bag. And too many women, and let me tell you something. A lot of women say they divorced because cheating. Let me tell you something. A lot of women in relationships know what a man is able to get and what he can't get. And if cheating was the decide factor, if we really want to be honest, I would tell most women, don't get married to no man. Because eventually, man, it's always going to have his options, right? Where he is in his position in life, financially, spiritually, whatever. If he feels he's going to have another woman and he doesn't really keep real with you, don't be surprised he has a side woman on the side, you know? And let me tell you something. Other women don't care. For you ladies. There was a video done by MM about one woman said she's going to mess around with a man that's married because she gets some out of the relationship that she could benefit, right? The man's time, attention, or sex. And knowing that he has a whole wife at home. So let me tell you, some women are notoriously are going to play side chicks, regardless. So don't give me that crap. All right. And the man, outfield writes, I was divorced after 22 years and did nothing. Oh, wow. You were divorced 22 years ago? Oh, shit. Let me see. Wait. I was divorced after 22 years, did nothing. That, the math don't really make sense if my math is right. So you tell me you got married at age 16? Outfielder? I'm curious. And this person, I want to argue. Please argue with me. I don't know who that is. Outfielder writes, I am 6'2". I am 6'2". 1988 was my favorite. Oh, okay. I got you. Okay, that's what's up. That's it. So you turned 6'2" this year, or you gonna turn 6'3"? Because we're in New Year. Just curious. So, but 22 years, the math makes sense. Okay, I understand. If the math adds, it looks like you got married around 29 or 30, roughly. Yeah. No one wants to honor anything. Both men and women. Okay. Married 25 years old. Okay. Okay, so you're born 1963. That's what's up. All right, so you got married roughly around 31. Okay, that's what's up. All right, let's keep going. I only got like maybe another 15 minutes, 30 minutes of this. We'll see. Let's go.
Adapting to the situation. As somebody that has
Yeah, okay.
worked with many different people before, managed teams of people, I know that if I have a group of 10, that they're going to have different personalities. I have this message that I need to get to them, and I need to deliver it in 10 different ways so that it comes across
Well,
a
okay.
certain way.
Let's-
This is emotional intelligence,
Okay.
Rachel.
Oh, yes.
which we
Emotional
can-
intelligence, which is
which
made
we
up
can-
nonsense.
which we can,
Emotional intelligence
develop
is nonsense.
and get better
That's
on.
garbage pop psychology.
Okay.
Do you believe in
emotional-
horoscopes too?
Emotional intelligence.
Yeah,
We're not
she
gonna-
believes in horoscopes too.
We're
Do
not
you
going to get
believe
into
in
a horse.
horse-
We're not going to get into
horoscopes?
horoscopes.
Do you
we're
believe
gonna,
in them, though?
We're gonna. I'm not even.
She
gonna,
does.
I'm not even
Just
gonna.
asking.
I'm not even gonna answer that or entertain it.
re-
Let's
really-
stick to the.
I'd like to thank Rachel. Shout out to Miss Wilson. You're the first woman to really lay out and keep it real. This stupid nonsense about emotional goddamn intelligence. It is bullshit. A man should not be emotionally intelligent. He should be logic. And I'm put with nothing you do, chick. Now give me that bullshit about emotional damn intelligence. And I had a video, or somebody did, when I asked an older gentleman about this question about emotional intelligence, and he gave me the real that is a whole bunch of crap, which I agree. That's something that women put out there just to control men and want certain men to act emotionally. No, we move with logic. We don't move by emotions. That's not how the world sees men. We have to move more thinking and logic. Cut the emotions. We try to keep our emotions limited. All right, let's continue.
Topic.
Really quick, why don't we do let's let a few chats come through, and then we can also dive into a different prompt. But first, we have Jim Bob Smith. Thank you for your soup chat. Does the blonde on the right think MAGA and Trump is conservative? She is a conservative in the same liberal way Trump is. Do you want to respond to that?
No. No. They can write anything they want. I usually don't respond to people.
Well, I mean, they send in the chat.
It's a valid point, though. Trump is a 90s Democrat, and he's a classical liberal, and so are you.
I think that there's things that I agree with Trump on most things, not all things. I'm not a blind follower of any politician, period.
All right, we have a chat here from, hold on, Brian's Conscious. Shit, I should have listened to the Unknown Soldier when he said to never have this low IQ nitwit back on the show. Good thing another Wilson is here, so this episode is actually making money. Okay, thank you for that. We have a chat here from Desert Jorge. He writes, Rachel, here are the facts. Driena, did I say it right?
Yep.
Driena. Driena. Well, that's just like your opinion. I feel that you just hate yourself, and I feel like I know what is right and what is wrong. Shout out to the Discord homies. Thank you, Desert Jorge.
You know,
Do
I
you wanna
haven't even
respond to that?
said that yet, that, you hate yourself. I mean, I was planning on using that bomb at some point, but, I guess
You
that's
got
not
me.
important.
I hate myself.
And we have one more here. Whatever fan, Rachel, I'm passing out the plates for this barbecue cooking. You're going to do and feed the whole chat from whatever fan. Thank you for that.
Well, she believes her role is in the kitchen, so I
I
think that's
do.
appropriate.
In fact, the kitchen is the best room in the house. Can't wait to get back there. I even got a hotel room with a kitchenette in it
Nice.
because I wanted
Nice.
to cook my own food.
Nice. Guys,
The kitchen is awesome.
if you're enjoying the stream, please like the video. Also, quick reminder, $10 display, $99 and up for reads. Also, really quick, Tiffany, can you just pull up Twitch? Guys, if you're watching over there on Twitch, or you can open up another tab, go to twitch.tv/whatever. Drop us a follow and a Prime sub if you have one. If you have Amazon Prime, you can link it to your Twitch. Quick, free, easy way to support the show every single month. And so that we can put on more debates just like this. And if you're enjoying the stream, of course, like the video. Right back to the debate. Let me propose a few, unless
Yeah.
there's something that
Let's
you guys
get back
wanna-
on like
I have
no
a
fault
I
divorce.
could get into
I have a
some of
few
the prompts
ideas.
here.
We got to do no fault divorce at some point here.
Yes.
Yeah, and women's contributions to the home and their market value would be a good one to talk
You
about as well.
also, in a social media post, you had referred to Rachel as a pick me. I don't know if you guys want to dive into that.
Yeah.
What is a pick me?
Pick me is somebody that panders to manosphere, men's audiences for just the sake of relevancy, and saying, yeah, women belong in the kitchen, barefoot and naked, all the different tropes.
I would never say to be barefoot and naked in the kitchen.
And pregnant
What
in the
the hell?
kitchen, those kinds of tropes. Everything that a certain demographic of people want to hear just for relevancy, not because it's something you believe, you practice, or that is correct.
Okay, so you don't think that I believe or practice the stuff I'm saying?
For the most part, yeah. I mean, you're very against women having a voice in politics, yet we're debating here for what? It's been 2 hours or something like that?
I'm against
An hour and a
women.
half.
I'm against women voting. I am
Gotcha.
continuing the proud tradition of
you
my
voted, but
anti-suffrage.
But Rachel, you voted before in the past.
Yes, I'll explain.
Okay, let's explain that.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So first of all, I'm here to.
And you'll never vote again?
Shush your mouth.
You'll
for
never vote
5
again?
seconds, you little yappy machine. I'm getting to it. It's my turn to talk now.
Go for it.
I'm here to carry on the proud tradition of the majority of women who are against women's suffrage and did not want to be a political voting bloc and were very happy with their duties as mothers and wives and community builders and thought that was extremely important. I agree with them wholeheartedly and all their reasons why they didn't want the vote. Now, yes, I did vote. And yes, I will vote again. And I'll tell you why. To cancel the vote of a feminist somewhere and to double my husband's vote. However you want to look at it. Whoever Andrew votes for, that's who I vote for. And that's how I'm going to cancel out some feminist somewhere's
So
vote.
you're against voting. You voted in the past. We'll vote in the future. If that's not hypocrisy, I don't know what is, Rachel.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
Do you think people watching
You just
would
said I'm a
think-
hypocrite. Let me address
Yes, you are.
it. If I had an abortion when I was in college, let's say, like you said, when you were in college and you get told that it's really not bad, it's not even a life, whatever. I get pregnant, I have an abortion in college, and then later I learn, wait, that is actually murdering a human being. I'm against that and it's wrong. And I go out and I tell people, don't get an abortion, it's wrong. Am I a hypocrite?
No, because you actually changed your behavior based on new information.
Well,
that
it's
you
not a
got.
behavior you can
You
change.
You can change your ideas, what you espouse, and your behavior
Yeah.
based on new information.
So if
that you
I
get.
vote,
you'd be a hypocrite.
if I vote to
You'd be
cancel a
hypocrite.
feminist vote,
You'd
that's
be You'd be
hypocritical.
a hypocrite, Rachel, is if you found out this information personally were against abortion. Now that you know this, that it's bad and murder, and then still went out and told women abortion is okay and it's not murder, then that is hypocrisy. In your case, what we were talking about previously was voting, right? So you don't believe women should have the right to vote.
But
you
I
voted
live in
the past.
reality, Driena.
We'll vote in the
we
future.
don't want to deny reality. You keep telling Andrew he was denying reality. We live in this time and place we live in, okay? So I have to be here talking to women like
you
you.
think that-
I have to be here talking to women like you to talk some sense into you, to persuade everybody out there that you're wrong, and I have to go and vote. Because
don't-
otherwise,
you don't
only the
have to.
feminists are going to vote.
You don't have to do anything,
Oh,
Rachel.
I do. It's my
Who's
duty.
forcing you?
It's my duty.
Oh, it's your duty
Yes.
now. Okay.
Speaking of which, do you think women have duties?
Women have duties. Do you think?
Well, women have rights. You've spent the whole time talking about what
I
rights
think-
women have. Do women have duties?
I think adults have duties. Yes.
well,
What duties do you think women have?
well, you would say men have a
No,
duty
what
to
duties do
protect
you-
the homeland,
what
right?
duties do you believe women have?
Oh, I'm not going to give you any answers. I want to know what you think. I
said-
know what I think.
I think that adults have duties and responsibilities as adults.
But are they the same?
And in a
Are men's and
in a-
women's duties the
and
same?
in a family context, then those differ, right?
Yep.
Or they may be similar depending on the structure that they have set up. So, for
Okay.
example, in the past, when people could afford to live on one income and the man could afford to have a stay-at-home wife, then obviously the roles of men and women differed to make it a working partnership, right? Nowadays, unfortunately, and this is not any of our faults other than the government and elite politicians and all that, most men and women do have to work within the family structure. So then obviously their duties and their roles and responsibilities within the households have changed. They have to adapt so that things make sense.
Such a long answer. You could have given me like a 5-word answer. It would have been
But I
way
didn't,
better.
because it's a
No,
free
because you like to
country.
hear yourself talk.
Free speech.
So
you like to hear
do
me
men,
talk too, or else you
no,
wouldn't
I
have
really
come
don't.
here.
Do men have a duty to protect our nation?
I think that, well, hold on, let me unpack that.
Whose duty is it to protect
our
the nation?
How?
From enemies, foreign and domestic.
Yes, foreign and domestic. So it depends, right? So men can be police officers, so can women. That would be protecting against domestic enemies, right? Police officers, FBI agents, TSA agents.
Yeah, I know what
okay.
they are, but do you
Okay,
think both
so
men
that-
and women
your
should
question-
equally do
so
those
your
jobs?
question
Or is
is-
that men's duty?
So your question is very broad because both men and women
No,
do
I'll make it
protect-
very concise.
Do protect this country domestically and abroad.
When it comes
So
to
what are you
force,
trying to
ultimately,
say?
when it comes to force, there's a bunch of illegals trying to cross the border.
Yes.
Somebody has to use physical force to stop them. Whose duty is that? Men or women or both?
It used to be that they'd send a lot of male foot soldiers, right, in for these kinds of things. Nowadays, we use more technology, right, for those kinds of interventions.
Always
so it's
people on the border, though. We have border enforcement
Yes,
agents down there
yes.
with guns. Do you
And
think,
there's
are you for
mostly men.
equality in that job? Do you think we should have equal women and men defending the border?
I think that there should be a standard of can you meet these job requirements? Can you lift certain heavy things? If not, then you do not get that
Okay,
position
that's
because
fair.
it puts us at,
Yeah,
at
that's
risk.
fair. Would you say the same thing in the military? Like you can only be a Green Beret if you can pass the standard. And if you're a
absolutely.
woman and you pass the standard, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you aware that there's never been a woman who has been able to make it through special forces training like Green Berets?
Okay, then they shouldn't be in that
Okay.
position.
So if only men can do those things,
That Green Beret position, but I just mentioned that there are plenty of other positions that do defend our country.
okay, what percentage
Foreign
of
and
women
domestically.
do you think are on the front lines in war or
Very
defending
minimal.
the border?
I'm not,
very minimal.
I'm not.
What about
I'm not making the argument that.
what about
women
critical infrastructure jobs like pouring cement, getting down in the sewer system and treating the sewer? What
Mm-hmm.
about oil rig work, the really heavy duty shit that keeps society running?
Keeps
how
society
come?
running.
Yeah, how come only like 2% of those people are women? And even in those fields, they're really usually just like holding a sign
Rachel,
or doing office
I'm
work.
not devaluing in any way men's contributions to society.
Okay.
I think that's super important, and we should value them because of that. That's part of my whole argument that
Right.
women should respect men and thank men for their sacrifices to society as a
I
whole.
agree. But
What
then
I'm
why
trying
should
to-
we give women equal rights with
Let me
men
tell you-
when
let
men
me
are
tell
the only
you.
ones that can do those
Okay.
critical things?
Sure. Okay, now that you asked me why should,
Mm-hmm.
women also have contributed to society in so many different important ways, besides a very important role of historically being the primary caretakers of children and being a homemaker and raising a home, which is the pillar of a strong society. Let's talk about that, right? We've got women inventors that have contributed to things like, dishwasher, just things that we use every single day to make.
Are you aware
our
of the
life-
number
let
of
me finish.
female patents
Let
versus
me-
male patent holders?
Yes.
Okay.
Josephine Cochrane, dishwasher. Let's see. We've got Florence Papart. She improved early refrigeration systems. So because of this woman, we can not have food that goes that gets
Bet you
spoiled.
anything if we look
So-
these
so-
up,
so
it's
wait,
going to
let
be
me-
a
let me
guy who
finish.
actually
Let me-
did the work. But okay,
Let
I'll
me-
just
so
grant
wait,
it.
let
I'll
me-
just grant
Let
it.
me finish this
Yeah.
because we're
You see, the problem with these ladies that talking about female innovators, they can't name at least 15 or more female inventors. That tells me you're not well read to understand the difference between who innovates the most of technology that we really consume and use in society. Even hell, I can't name a lot of women inventors because the books that I have right in front of me gives me more male than females. Not knocking at their female innovators, but proportionally, most innovation that people consume in society are done and created by men. Let that sink in. Let's continue.
talking about contributions to society. Obviously, I can't memorize all of these. I don't have that kind of a memory.
You
But,
should.
you know, there's a woman who created the refrigerator, Kevlar, body armor material, Stephanie Kwolek, used in bulletproof vests that our brave, brave men use in battle, helmets, aircraft components. A woman created the first computer algorithm, Ada Lovelace. She wrote the first algorithm for a machine. It's considered the first computer programmer, and without this, there is no modern software.
This is all very impressive, but beside the
software
point.
industry. No, it's not.
It is totally beside. I'm talking about.
A comment by the Knight of Floor writes, laugh my ass off. Imagine saying that more men own parents. Like, duh, men have held the power longer. Of course. Of course.
Force. I'm talking
we're
about
talking about
force.
contributions to society.
No, you're talking
Grace
about that.
Hopper,
My
which-
question to you was
Grace
about
Hopper,
force.
let me finish. Grace Hopper, which created
Sorry,
the
guys.
COBOL programming language with which banking systems run, which government infrastructures use. So our financial system literally depends on this. We've got frequency hopping technology. Hedy Lamarr, which is
That's
the foundation
false.
of Wi-Fi.
Did you know that that's
Bluetooth.
false? I can't believe she did the
Bluetooth.
Hedy Lamarr thing. That was a
Bluetooth,
man who
GPS.
did that. No, she did
Bluetooth
not
and
invent
GPS.
that. No, that's you can fact check
She's
that.
a
It's wrong.
co-founder with a man. Frequency hopping technology. Hedy Lamarr. There you go.
Now, I agree. The GPS was developed by a black woman. I do agree with that. And a person right in the comment wrote that that most innovators that women create were stolen by men. Most innovation, it was run and dominated in this Western world that the patent knowledge that was established by non-black people, majority of those patents were going to be stolen anyway. For those that don't know, the patent knowledge was just a creation in itself, just to give credit to those that were able to give credit to what they invent. We don't want to go down this rabbit hole about who stole who. Cause I can go down the laundry list of the innovators, mostly black men and partially black women that create things that were never given no credit until you had to dig into the crates to find these people's names. So we're not going to go in that rabbit hole about innovation. At the end of the day, in the society that's still run and dominated by men, men are still the innovators that create things that society use, including men. All right, let's go.
You can look it up. Political.
Yeah, if you actually look it up, it's well known that this is a fake feminist
So your
talking
original
point.
argument is, you know, if this is what men contribute to society, this is why they get a right
That's
to
not what
vote.
I said.
I'm presenting
I didn't say
you-
what people contribute. I asked
presenting-
you about force, and you dodged and
We don't-
obfuscated and stonewalled to evade my question. Only men.
Oh, so force is the
Yes.
reason why people should
No,
vote?
listen to the question,
Go ahead.
sweet cheeks, and then you can give me an answer.
cheeks.
Yeah, if you're very, yeah, you're very pretty. Congratulations, but this is a debate, not a beauty pageant. So you got to try to focus.
She's a remember, Miss Saxon is a fake bleach blonde. She's not really blonde, but at age 34, because she born in 1992, I believe, she looks fairly decent. Now, my only suggestion that to Miss Deandra Saxon, if you with your little beta male boyfriend, which you know he is having his chick on the side, you better hope that he marries you in the next year. You don't want to fall into the high risk pregnancy in the next year or two. Just saying. Let's continue.
So men are the only ones who can do the hard, forceful jobs that provide us with security and all of this technological infrastructure that allows you to pretend that we are equal with men. We are not equal
not
with
the
men.
same.
That
We are
doesn't
equal
it doesn't mean that
in
we
value.
don't equal in value, I agree. But that relates to duties. Equal in value relates to our duties to society. Men's duties to society are things like building and maintaining infrastructure, providing safety and security, keeping out enemies who are going to come in and, you know, like especially pre-industrial revolution. Oh, you're not going to cut me off after all that. Come on. Prior to industry and technology, men literally had to keep the barbarian hordes away from the gates, okay? Like,
So this has to do with
keep women
voting. Again,
safe.
how?
Because people
back.
think that we've escaped this natural fundamental thing, and we haven't. It still requires force at the end of the day. You still need men Out there, look at Iran, look at Ukraine, look at the borders, all the national borders. You still need men with force to keep society going. That's men's duty.
I agree.
What are women's duties to society?
I just named them. They have historically been primarily homemakers, right? And also women have a duty that men can't do, period, which is childbirth.
I'm glad you brought that up. Why aren't they having any babies anymore?
Because the situation for them is not apt, is not appropriate. It is a lot more difficult, especially when it comes to the economy, to have kids, one. And two, like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, women need strong men to lead, right, and to be in a family with. And unfortunately, the men of today, I'm not saying all of them, but the men of today are quite literally not the same as men 50 years ago. In fact, and there's actual, you can pull this up, Brian, but I have it written here too. Men are actually physically different than they were years back, as in men nowadays on average have lower testosterone
I'm
than
aware
their
of all that.
grandfathers. So for you to say that because men have to be the ones leading and all of this, you're trying to say that, oh, women are not having kids because of women's right to vote or something like that, which is crazy. I'm saying that we need to build strong men back up. We need to encourage them to take care of themselves, to get healthy, to build up their hormones, get their testosterone right, get unaddicted to pornography, drugs, alcohol, vices, and then women will naturally want to have families again. But right now, there isn't as high of a percentage of men that women want to, what you call submit to, right? To get into a marriage with.
So women are not fulfilling their duty to society because man bad. The men just need to get better. The men need to get better. They need to improve. The men are in a sad, sorry state, and that's why the women don't want to have babies.
It's a fact. I'm not saying man bad. I'm saying
why aren't women fulfilling their duty? Why are women not fulfilling their duty? Is it because the men aren't good enough?
I'm saying man unhealthy, in fact, and this is something.
Men are unhealthy, and that's why women are. That's why the birth rate is so low, because the men are unhealthy.
Are you going to let me finish, or?
Are you ever going to get to a point?
Yes, you just need to stop interrupting. So yes, for example, 1 in 10 kids nowadays is born with autism out of all births.
Can you just ever answer a question without going off on?
Can you relax?
But you see, Rachel, this is what these dumb bitches do. They don't answer goddamn fucking questions. I'm watching and listening carefully, and she's talking about she's telling deliberately that men have to be better, and then women are going to be. No, women never submitted in this fucking society. Matter of fact, I'll give you a hint. It's because of the higher societies, those top 1%, those people in higher ups that created certain institutions have opened the door for you chicks to become men. What I mean by this, you work in the workforce now. Most of the jobs that you do, men could do and probably do more better. But because they put you in line with the same workforce, you actually inflate the costs. How come? Let me show y'all something. Because I'm going to go there today. Since she want to go there and tell my men should be this. Okay, bitch, I got something for you. I had to do this. Got to do this. Let me see if I got that videotape. I'm gonna find it. I have it somewhere. Matter of fact, I got y'all something better. I got one better for y'all. I have to do this because this gotta be taught. Where's my video? Oh, I found it. Oh, yes. This video right here that most of y'all were not aware of. There we go. Share screen. And it's going to talk about the wages. Here we go.
Feminism was a scam to get women into the workforce so they could tax both parents and indoctrinate your kids. Only Jewish women know the truth. Here's what they're not telling you. Before feminism, one income supported an entire family. Mom stayed home, raised the kids. Dad worked. Then the Rockefeller family and the CIA funded the feminist movement, not because they cared about women's rights, because they wanted to double the tax base. If both parents work, the government collects income tax from both parents instead of one. They doubled their revenue overnight. But here's the real scam. If both parents are working, who's raising your kids? The school system is raising your kids. And who controls what schools teach? The same people who funded feminism. So now they tax both parents and indoctrinate your children. It's the perfect system. Jewish women figured this out decades ago. We saw Gloria Steinem working with CIA-funded organizations in the 1960s. Rockefeller Foundation, Ford Foundation, all funding women's studies programs and feminist organizations. They sold it as liberation, but it was control. You went from one income buying a house and supporting a family to two incomes barely covering rent. Because when women entered the workforce, wages didn't double. They got cut in half. Supply and demand. Twice as many workers means employers can pay everyone less. So now both parents work longer hours for less money per person, and strangers raise your kids. You call it progress? We call it the greatest wealth transfer in history. Before feminism, one parent could stay home. Now both parents have to work just to survive. And your kids spend 8 hours a day being taught by the state. This is why Jewish women prioritize one parent staying home when possible. We don't trust the system to raise our children. Feminism didn't liberate women. It enslaved both parents. And as a Jewish woman, I can tell you the people who funded it are the ones profiting from your labor and controlling your kids.
There you go. There you go. So next time, if Miss Saxon go around and talk that men need to bear bullshit, I turn to y'all to turn to that. Because she doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. Because she's been conditioned through the same institution she talk about that she don't agree that most people should go. Most majority colleges today that women go to are teaching you this bullshit. They teach you the opposite. And here's the kicker. Because most of them think they got a degree, that they are more above or higher than a man. You look at most of these degrees most of the women got are degrees that are unfortunately useless in society. That now artificial intelligence could take over that with a snap of a finger. That society does not need. So Rachel asked a bold question. Miss Saxon can't tell you that because she's conditioned like the rest of these dumb chicks. Talking about men had a certain amount of testosterone back then. No, back then, you didn't really do much work if you had to. And most men work without even a goddamn college degree. Now, because they already concluded, said, I need to control a population of consumers, I can't have you operate as a man unless you probably work for yourself. And even if you got the opportunity to do that, you still deal with an overinflated society because you're not going to get to that 1% easily. Don't be fooled by way things already here. There are more millionaires. That's pennies compared to people that are already millionaires and now above billionaires because you don't understand how this society and how the system really works. They already got this checkpoint, check and mate right now as society. For you to be the actual 1% here, you're going to have to lay down and get down. You might have to know somebody, and even that you're going to have to give up something. You know why they put these celebrities in our face more than anybody else? You know why they put them on? Because they try to give you the illusion that if you can't be like this, which is an entertainer, athlete, entertainer, or something else, you are not going to get to the 1%. Screw that if you are a well-established attorney, maybe a high business person, run on your own business maybe, and is doing probably well and hopefully it scales up, or a person's in the tech field. I didn't include medical because medical go either way, especially in man society. It's going to be hard for you to jump from 15 to 1% easily. But Miss Saxon don't know that because if you look at her background, she has some stupid little political science degree. You can't do shit nothing with a political science degree. It's garbage. And I said it. I'm gonna continue to play this, guys. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to read your chat room, but I will eventually. Let me continue to play this. I want to go through this and finish up this content. Let's go.
And let me
It's
make
just
my point.
I'm just going to take a
Are you
bathroom
okay?
break while she
Sure.
yaps, and then I'll just come back and ask you the same question.
Fantastic. For those watching, 1 in 10 kids are born with autism in this country. Unfortunately, the men's health and the women's health is very important when it comes to fertility, when it comes to the health of a woman's pregnancy, and the men's health prior to conception is extremely important in making sure that that baby is healthy. Alcohol consumption is one of the largest causes of mutations and defects in men's swimmers, and so.
Bitch, do you know women are drinking as much as more alcohol as men now? Did y'all know that? They're taking drugs too. You see, the problem with everything that goes when they talk about the men, you always got to look at what are you doing as well, because it takes two, but really majority, you're holding the baby, baby. The baby's in your womb. If you're not proper in yourself, your body, your diet and stuff, really what man does is really relevant. Now, yes, a man should try to keep his health as possible in circumstance. But we all know in society, men are going to do more, they're going to move more, and they're going to do things. Your job as a woman is to keep yourself as healthy as possible. If you don't smoke and drink, if you deal with a man, you better hope that the man you deal with is not much of a heavy drinker, and it'd be better if he don't smoke. But overall, you keep yourself healthy as a woman. And how we know this? Because a lot of you ladies are getting knocked up by men that are not, unfortunately, husbands. We have a 70% out of wedlock birth rate in America. That tells you most women are not getting married first time having children. They are getting knocked up by either boyfriends or unknown men that don't even know the background of their health. So I don't want to hear about this shit about the autism and all that stuff. No, you are get on your backs and getting and letting men in you unconsciously. Real talk. Don't give me that garbage. Do not give me that garbage. So I'm gonna let her continue her little dumb rant.
If men want to help the woman have a smoother pregnancy, a healthier pregnancy, then they have to take care of their health first. Women do too. I'm not saying it's like women should just do whatever.
Women
but
are doing whatever.
Again, this is responsibility on both people's parts, and women might not be having kids as much as they did before because, again, the economy is freaking terrible. Women don't want to have kids that are going to struggle or go without. And men need to realize this and know that, okay, maybe I can't be a man that provides everything and can afford a stay-at-home wife, but at the very least,
Still going.
I can help in the household, and we can contribute financially and also with labor in the household. That's what I'm saying,
Okay,
Rachel.
so I'm just going to defeat everything you said with one simple
Go
thing.
for it,
I'll just
Rachel.
point out the fact that the only people having children are the poorest people. So if the problem was money, we would see rich people having all the babies and poor people would not be having the babies. So you're
Exactly.
absolutely wrong on that. In fact, we've done
Conservatives
studies.
are more responsible,
Okay, now it's
Rachel.
my turn. Now it's my turn. They've done studies on this because dropping birth rates around the world are an extremely
Oh my god, I had to pull this up. Oh, I'm only pulling this come one time. I like dating girls with kids. It's fun. Nick and Rashad, you're fool, man. All right, let's see what else you guys write up here. Yeah, you guys write some. Yeah, if it's not super chat, I ain't gonna read no more comments. I think at this point I'm gonna start reading comments. If it's not super chat, I'm not gonna read it. Let's go.
serious problem. There are think tanks around the world, including the World Health Organization, that
I
are
agree.
saying this could be civilizational ending for
I
some
agree.
countries.
I agree.
So they've studied it at length. And the number one correlate around the world, regardless of culture, finances, religion, any other factor, is women's access to higher education and the job market. This means that when you tell young women to spend all of their fertile years going to college and preparing for a job and then get into the workforce and establish your career before you think about marriage and family, what you end up with is we have now women getting married and having babies for the first time at around the age 30, 31. When in my grandma's generation, shout out to grandma, she's turning 100 on April 1st, love you, grandma. She, in her generation, the first age of marriage was around 22. And you had a baby usually that same
So
year.
now you're also arguing against women's education?
Don't put words in my mouth. Let me finish. You just yappity-yapped that whole
Iran,
time.
Rachel, Iran.
So
it's an option, you know.
So the truth is, it's not finances. It's not men are weak, men need more testosterone, men need to get their bag, men need to blah, 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 which that's mind-blowing to me that you would ever pin this on men because
pinning it
you're
on
like,
men.
you're like the men.
environment,
Don't interrupt me.
government,
Don't interrupt me.
all of that
Don't
stuff.
interrupt me.
You did that
Don't
before
interrupt
to me.
me. Don't interrupt
Back
me.
and
Do you
forth.
want a bathroom break and I can just talk?
Go for it, go.
Okay. You say we would have more babies if the men would lead. But then you say, I'm not going to follow a man. I have my own mind and I'm a strong, independent woman and I'm just as equal as he is and I think it should be equal. How can you be
Voting
equal
rights.
and he could lead at the same time?
Yeah, that's such a crazy concept for you to understand, but it is possible.
Okay, tell me how.
I am in a relationship with a man that I also look up to, that leads, and at the same time, we both vote. What is the argument you're trying to make that you can't?
How does he lead if you don't submit?
Who the heck is talking about submission? I'm talking about voting, Rachel. And you just made an argument, again, against women's education now. So now it's not just women not being able to vote and women not having
I didn't make
financial
a should.
independence.
I did not make a
But
should
also-
argument.
but
I just
also-
told you what the reason
But
is.
also women shouldn't have access
Do you
to
know the
higher
difference between an
education.
ought statement and an is statement? I said the reason is this. Does that mean I'm saying women ought not be allowed to be educated?
Is that, okay, I'm asking you that question. Do you believe that?
No, I think that women have, this is another big myth that Driena probably believes, that
put
women
words in my
that
mouth.
women were denied education. Do you think that there was no equality in education until recently or something like that?
No, no, actually. And in fact, women hold more degrees than men.
Yeah, but
do
what about
nowadays.
100 years ago or 150 years ago?
I'm not exactly sure, but I do know that education was heavily influenced by people that made it so it's harder to get an education, so it's more of an elite thing. And that's a whole thing
No,
with the
so-
Rockefellers and whatnot. But
That's true, but some of the first colleges in this country were women's only colleges.
and there are also a lot of
and
black
they've always
colleges,
had access.
and
yes.
then Rockefellers got involved and it got cut to like
So
10%.
if we didn't have a birth rate problem in 1860 when all the women could go to college, why do we have it now? Because of 100 years of feminist propaganda from people like you and Taylor Swift and
wasn't born 100
Beyonce and
years ago.
Kamala Harris. No, I'm saying now we have this problem because women like you, and I heard you say, and I take major issue with this, somebody finally pulled it out of you in the Dating Talk podcast that you do look down on women like me who don't have a degree and aren't in the workforce
never
having a
said
career.
that.
You said, look, if
That I look down on
all
women
you
that
do,
don't have a
you said
degree?
you don't feel that women who don't have their own money and career and all this stuff.
I've never said that.
That
I dare you to I don't have cash, but I guess we could.
You
cash
didn't
that
say
out.
you looked down
What
on
I
them, but you said you did
specifically-
not consider them successful like you or something
no,
like
Rachel, what I do remember saying is in Brian's hypothetical fun thing that he does on every podcast where he's like, oh, do you think women should, on the first time that they're over at my house, cook and clean and do laundry for them? Do you think women should do that? And I'm like, no, that's ridiculous. And most people that listen to that know it's freaking ridiculous. And women that do say, yeah, I would totally, like, first time over a guy's house, do his laundry. Yes, I do believe those
I
women
think that's how it
have
started.
something wrong.
It
with
started
their
that way,
brain.
but eventually,
Yes,
through the course of the
absolutely.
conversation, you basically
No.
said, if
Outside
you're
of
not,
that parameter, that is it.
okay, I'll just take your word for that.
No,
but
people can go back and look at that. It's actually one of the most
we've
viewed
established that the
episodes.
fact of what's actually true is that women are not having children because the men are too weak. They need to up their game. They need to be better leaders. They need more testosterone. The men are
That's
lacking, and
one
that's
of
why
the
the women aren't having babies. The women aren't having
One of the
babies
reasons,
because
yes.
they go to college and they build careers first and they delay their first child until their 30s. And if you do that, there's a whole bunch of reasons why that doesn't work. The first is you're already past the majority of your fertility window. After 35, even with IVF, the odds of conceiving just go down drastically every year. That's a biological fact. The second thing is, when you build your life around this idea that you have to have goals and be successful, and you've spent all your life, everything you're doing is towards your career for that purpose, women
Rachel.
find it extremely hard to flip a switch and suddenly be a mom and a stay-at-home mom, or dedicate their lives to something outside themselves, which is what our duty is.
So, Rachel, it is statistical fact, and you can look this up, that women with higher education degrees have lower rates of divorce. So, since I am pro-marriage and pro-successful marriage, not just get married all willy-nilly, that is why I do believe it's a good thing that women have education. And it makes sense, right? You know, you are educated, and therefore you want to establish yourself before starting a family so that it is something that is strong. And
But
again,
wait,
this
didn't
is-
you say you're against women going to college? Didn't you?
When?
At
Did
the
I say
beginning,
that?
I said something about college, and you said, I agree. I think college is a scam too. I think you shouldn't go
think
unless you're getting a STEM degree.
Yeah, that's
How many
true.
women get STEM degrees?
How do those two things,
Almost
how are
never.
they at
You just
odds with
said
each
you
other?
think women should go to college and get an education. Okay, but isn't college a scam?
Unless you're going for a STEM degree.
Did you get a
yes.
STEM degree?
No.
Okay.
And I got lucky.
Do you know what
I'm not-
percentage of STEM degrees
I'm
are
not-
earned by women? It's like 20%.
See, I'm not a hypocrite because I'm not telling people to do something that I'm an exception for.
Well, I
There's
didn't
so
even
many
accuse you of
people-
hypocrisy. I'm just saying most women don't go for STEM. The vast majority, 80% of women's degrees are liberal arts nonsense.
A lot of them, yes, but
Yeah.
still.
So why would we push that?
The fact still stands that the more education, formal education women have, the lower the divorce rate.
But do you think
and
that
the
that's,
higher
but
lifetime
let's address that.
earnings.
Let's address that. Because do you think
Do
that's,
you not want people to not get divorced?
do you think you need college to not get divorced?
No, I'm just saying that there's that correlation.
Okay.
Rachel.
That a correlation doesn't equal a cause. So telling women to go to college because you have a lower chance of getting divorced
No.
would be retarded. That
I'm
would be like
saying-
the ice cream problem. Have you ever heard of the ice cream problem?
No, you're saying women aren't having kids because they're going to college.
Yes, and they're focused on career and building
careers
career.
first.
Because we tell them, if you're smart and successful, this is what you're going to do. And if you're a
Yeah.
stay-at-home mom, you're a loser and you're lame and you're
Which I
going to
disagree
get
with.
abused. You're
Which
going
I
to be
disagree with,
vulnerable.
But when I have daughters, I am absolutely going to tell them, you need to have something of value that you can depend on, because you can't just basically put yourself up as somebody that is dependent on neither the government nor another person, right? So yes, I would absolutely tell boys and girls, set yourself up for life in whichever way you see fit. It could be getting a STEM degree in college. It could be going to a vocational school, doing some kind of trade, business, whatever. Absolutely establish yourself before coming into a relationship with somebody else. And if you do decide to be
What do you mean by that, though?
And if you do
establish yourself, do you have to have like a 401k? Do you have to have a savings?
just
What do
have
you have
some
to have?
kind of
Just any old job.
some kind of way for you to be able to depend on yourself. God forbid the worst happens, you know,
Okay, but
in a
who
relationship, in a
can't
marriage.
do that? Do you know what the average jobs are that people work? The average person makes,
very
for
difficult.
women, it's like 40K a year. For men, it's like 60K a year.
Okay, what I'm saying-
most of us have like basic ass jobs that we
Yes.
can get straight out of high school. I did that.
Yes.
I didn't need to go to college and get into debt,
Yes.
which is the other big problem.
This was a very
women
long time
come,
ago,
women
Rachel,
come
by
up,
the way,
no,
for
it's-
you.
It's the same thing now.
No, it's
yes,
not.
it is. It is the same thing now. The jobs
10
that are in
years.
demand are not liberal arts degrees.
Okay.
In fact, there's a ton of data showing that if you have liberal arts degrees, you have the hardest time finding a job
I
because you
agree.
don't have practical skills.
I agree.
And employers don't even want that shit anymore. And
I
they
agree.
And not only that, artificial intelligence, which we like to call AI, ChatGPT, Grok, Claude, Poe. Do I want to go down a list of so many? Oh, and I forgot Gemini. Those could easily obsolete your little bullshit liberal jobs. You're paper pushing, you're reading it. They could easily type in a prompt and you get a result. So I agree wholly what Rachel just laid out perfectly. There's no demand for no goddamn easy fucking degree. And even if you get the hard degree, you're going to have to probably throw that away and have to rescale up again to deal with the environment, with the technology in your front of hands right now. So, like I said, if you're going to do this college thing, you have to really reconsider that and think very long and hard. Just saying. Let's continue.
look for people who try to start businesses. They look for people who are self-starters, smart,
Yes.
self-educated.
Yeah.
I'm debating you today with nothing but a cosmetology license.
Fantastic.
You
And
know?
I
Wow.
agree that having degrees does not change facts, and having a title does not make for any kind of an argument. I've
Right.
never
So
said
if
that.
you can get a retail management job by the time you're 21, why
What-
can't you get married and
what
start
I'm-
having kids?
Sure. You know, what I'm saying is that having kids and being a stay-at-home mom, obviously very valuable. It does take you out of the workforce, and
Yep.
if you were to get back in it, then it'd make it a lot more difficult. So if women decide to be stay-at-home moms, they need some kind of protection, agreement, guarantee before marriage with the husband to make sure that the kids primarily are taken care of. God forbid the worst happens, which is a split or a divorce. So that is what I'm.
No, divorce is initiated by women for what is considered reconciled differences. One of the things, it could be that they get tired, they're bored. They could say that their man might have stepped out, or even go as far as he doesn't make enough money. Divorce is always initiated by women because these are many factors they put and use as the weapon to get out of a marriage and go back in them streets and get their cheeks clapped, to open them out and bust it wide open. That's their reason why they're getting out in the streets. And God forbid, if you're a man that was doing very well in this marriage, you're gonna be paying out. Jasmine, you're gonna be paying out. I'll let her continue to babble.
saying. I'm just being a logical, reasonable person, and I'd prescribe the same thing for men, you know?
You're not being logical and you're
Yeah, I
not
am.
being reasonable, and we're going to figure this out together, okay? So how are we going to combat birth rates dropping like a rock and tell women you need to have your own money, you need to have a fail-safe, you need to have a backup plan. You
I have
can't
it-
really leave the job market, because if you do, it makes it really hard to
come
get back
let's
in.
work on solutions, right? For this country, let's focus on this country at the very least. It's the one we care about. I think it'd be very helpful for women and men in this country if we weren't importing the third world or filling jobs that Americans can
factor?
fill.
Yeah, why do we
But-
have to do that? Do you know why? Because we're not having babies. And
No,
if the women
because-
were having babies, we wouldn't have to import our entire labor force from the third
No,
world.
because we have
yes.
sellout politicians that don't answer to us and answer to foreign interests, and that's why they're doing it,
No,
Rachel.
we have a labor
We're not
shortage.
each
That's
other's-
real. That's a real thing.
We're
We have
not-
a serious, not just us, almost the whole world.
We don't
We're
have a-
experiencing a birth rate collapse, and it's created labor shortages, and it's created supply
Yes.
chain problems.
It's called the birth dirt, baby.
Why would women want to have kids if, you know, if they know that the market for the kids, when they do get born, they're not going to have the same opportunities they had growing up because we've got shitty politicians that are importing people from all over the
So
world to
now
fill
women
those
aren't
roles.
having babies because shitty politicians are allowing too many immigrants.
That's a big
Is there
reason.
any point at which it's the women's choices to shirk their duty to have children? Are we ever going to hold the women accountable and say, maybe the values are wrong? Maybe the women should say, you know what? I think it's a really valuable thing to produce another generation to keep this beautiful, wonderful world that
Yes,
I
that's
get
a
to enjoy
beautiful-
going?
Beautiful concept, and I agree with it. However,
Well, you'll talk about what men should do. Why won't we talk about what women should do?
women should also, again, contribute to their society. They should.
There's one thing we
There's-
need women to do more of, and it's have babies. We don't need more media
Okay,
girls.
but
We don't need more psychology
you-
majors. We don't
How do
need
you
more
convince-
retail workers.
Rachel, how do you convince women to have more kids?
Well, I'll tell you.
Please
So in a famous
In this economy
yeah,
here, now.
famous interview in the 19. Well, you can't. You got to fix the whole system. That's the point.
You can't fix
yes,
the
you
entire
can.
world.
Oh,
We're
you don't have to fix
prescribing-
the whole world.
we're
I'm going to tell
prescribing
you.
for the U.S.
Yeah. Okay, I'll tell
Okay.
you if you can just listen.
Sure.
In the 70s, Betty Friedan and Simone de Beauvoir had a famous interview where Simone said, I think the problem is that we give women the option to stay home. I'm paraphrasing, but she said, I don't think the world should be that way at all. I think that if we give that option, too many women will choose it, and that's not how society will run. I agree with her, and I believe that. I think if women have the option to stay home, that they would. I think if they had the opportunity to be mothers and be happy with being wives, mothers, having their sisters around them, here's what happened. We pushed women into the workforce in the 1970s in huge numbers.
Who did that? It was the U.S. government and people that wanted more tax.
The government, the CIA,
more
and the
taxpayer.
universities who wanted this big, massive college loan. So we agree on that. The big, massive college loan kind of scam where you tell the women, take out a loan, go to college so
That's
you can
one
have
thing,
financial
but more
security.
Than anything, they wanted more taxpayers paying into the system.
Exactly. So what we do is that created a two-income economy. The reason and there were other factors in the economy declining, but we've had ups and downs economically throughout all of history.
You have to also include technology, right? AI, all that stuff, industrialization.
Yeah. Well, the point is that some women have always worked, and some women can and should work. I don't see any problem with it. Mothers, if we take mothers out of the workforce, we used to have things like breadwinner laws, where only the men were responsible for the debts in the family. We used to have things like clauses in women's employment contracts where once you were married, we consider you taken care of financially by your husband because he's the one responsible for that, not you. And so we're going to give that job to an unmarried woman, a widow, somebody who actually needs the job because women's jobs were limited. We didn't have this huge equal workforce with 50% men and 50% women, basically. It's a little off, but that's basically what we have now. That created a permanent two-income trap where now women like me who want to stay home can't afford it. And many women who I hear from all over the country saying, I would love to stay home with my kids, but it's really tough. This is not something you can change and fix today. The reality of this problem is that it's going to be a multi-generational fix, and it starts with what we value, and we need to stop valuing career woman, careerism, Sarah Jessica Parker,
How do you sell that?
Sex in the City.
How do you sell that to women?
Well, you don't. See, this is the
So
problem.
you take away their option to choose.
Nope, it's not like that. The way the world works is based off incentive.
Yeah.
Just like how are you going to convince the men not to watch porn? You're not. It's addictive, and people have base instincts.
The
and they
incentive to have a family that's functional in the future and be a functional adult. That
Yeah,
should be
but
an
we've
incentive enough.
convinced women like you that what they should value is success, get your bag, have finances.
I didn't say that. I said
You're 32.
whatever-
You've been
whatever-
married. You could be married, but
Yeah.
you have other values. You don't have children for a reason.
I want to
would
be
assume.
married permanently. I think the single most important decision a person could make is who they decide to have children with.
Sure, I agree.
think that's
I
the
agree.
most important. And so, yes, I think both men and women should be extremely selective and choosy with that decision, because that's going to ultimately determine whether the child grows up in a stable household. So I am not going to pressure women to just have kids as soon as
I'm
they
not
can
talking
for
about
any kind
pressuring
of
them.
reason.
I'm talking about setting up incentives
Yeah.
for the things we want to see.
Yes.
And what we do by
Incentives,
we
good.
give women specifically,
Force, bad.
we give women free college loans. We give them free loans to start businesses. We have done all this affirmative action stuff for the last 50 years to push and push and push and incentivize women to focus on career, focus on joining the workforce, reject motherhood. It's icky. Kids are gross and it's hard and you don't want to do that. It's going to ruin your body. There's so much anti-motherhood propaganda,
which I'm
and
against,
the whole pop culture. You can't name a single pop star or movie star who's an influential woman who doesn't have the boss girl, strong woman through your sexuality message. All of them do. Be sexy and hot like me and make your money. And ew, men are gross and they're stupid. And Sabrina Carpenter telling the whole world men are useless.
You're broad, which I disagree with, but again, you're broadly generalizing women this, women that,
I'm saying
most women.
The incentives society-wide through the pop culture, through the education system, through the government, every institution tells women motherhood is for stupid losers and strong woman, sexy girl, boss babe stuff is for winners. And we have to change those incentives. If we truly value family,
but you can't force
wait,
people
just
to
let me
do
finish.
anything.
Just let me finish. I'm not saying force. I'm saying incentivize. You should know this if you work in politics. If we incentivize people to come across the border because they're going to get free shit, we're going to get more of that.
Agreed.
You get more of whatever you incentivize and you get less of whatever you stigmatize. We need to stigmatize sexy girl boss babe stuff. We need to
How?
By taking back the institutions and the culture.
How?
That's what you said, right?
Yeah, how are you going to do that?
By me going on these podcasts and writing books and talking to people like you. And now there's a bunch
they
of
shouldn't vote. That's how you're gonna get them to go back to.
Do you know how many women actually don't want to vote? It's a lot.
Okay,
you would be shocked.
Yeah, I'm sure, but it's
There's
not the
a lot.
majority.
They just don't care that much.
I
The
think
truth is, whenever we have a dating panel, Brian,
the majority of women.
most
do
of the
wanna
girls,
vote
when you say how,
and do
no,
vote.
I don't want to vote. If you say
do
to
vote.
if you say to all the,
Yes,
can you
they're-
let me talk?
They're
let Rachel finish,
curated.
please.
They're not curated.
Yes, they are.
Wait, what do you mean?
She's
Yes,
saying
they
that
are.
you specifically pick girls. This is what everybody thinks about the podcast. And I wish this was true because I'm so black-pilled and I wish I wasn't. But all the young women I speak to, not just here, but on other podcasts and other debates that I do, you ask them who they voted for, they usually haven't. They usually don't vote until they're older and married.
It doesn't matter who
Some
you
of the
spoke to at a
college radicals
podcast.
do.
The facts are that a majority of women vote and do care about voting because they vote Republican, because they vote Democrat, and because they voted more than men have.
I'm
in the
not,
last
what I'm
presidential
telling you is
elections.
I'm not trying to convince women the way that you're thinking. I'm talking about systemic incentive. I'm saying do things like what Hungary did, where if you have 3 or more children, you never pay taxes again.
Okay.
We make marriage an ecclesiastical
Okay.
governed thing again, where it's no longer this no-fault government bullshit that you want. Absolutely not.
What's
you go
the,
to
what's
your
the
church.
thing that I want? What's the thing that I want?
You are
What's the-
you like government marriage with prenuptial agreements and no fault divorce.
I believe that the government should have never gotten into marriages.
Okay, who should have governed marriage then?
I believe
Who?
that. I believe
If the
that.
government
Let me finish
doesn't-
because you just told me you believe this and this and that, and it's
what you've
inaccurate,
said, and-
it's inaccurate. I believe in people being able to get out of bad marriages. Absolutely.
Do you think
And-
they couldn't before?
and
Okay.
without certain legal protections. Let's say that you are in a
All right, that's enough of that. Enough of this. Like to hear y'all thoughts in the comment section of this one. Hype this video up. We will continue on this one. As you know, this is a very lengthy stream. And I'm probably gonna continue more on this. Leave your comments down below. And one thing I want to ask y'all before I end this. So far, not nearly halfway in this debate, do you think Ms. Sexton, with her talk points today's stream, is valid in regards what men need to do and why women are not performing the way they should be in society? And another thing, has Rachel really destroyed this woman? I think she's doing a hell of a job. And I don't think Miss Sexton so far, if she's trying to debate some real intellects, I think she needs to sit her butt back down. I'm just saying. On that, thank you for watching today's stream. like, comment, subscribe to the channel. And like always, you know where to find me. Until next time, and I mean until next time. The chaos reigns.
They like the chaos.
They like the chaos. So when you're able to
Chaos.
let that chaos reign with you,
Chaos.
let that chaos reign with you,
Chaos.
let that chaos reign with you.
Must reign.